Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast, is available on all mainstream audio and video feeds. Find out how you can support the show by heading over to patreon.com/criticalframes.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast. A lot of news has occurred since the last time we talked to you guys, and this is without any kind of new PlayStation news, any kind of PlayStation showcases. Obviously, we had the State of Play a week or so ago. This is actually all from other people's showcases that showed off games that will be on PlayStation, and we just have a treasure trove of things to talk about this week, so we better get right into it. But first, as always, Joe, how are you doing today?
Doing well. I've been not kind of in the loop of sort of listening or watching or keeping up on sort of news in gaming, which is quite antithetical to what we are as a podcast in many ways.
I feel like if people have listened to this is the 6th episode of Critical Frames, they're getting the narrative from you that I didn't really play any games or I didn't really look at anything, you know.
Yeah, it's not down to choice. I mean, it is obviously down to choice at the end of the day, but I've just got so much going on. I mean, I'm getting better on the pull-ups and the press-ups every day, working my core every day. I've also been building a PC over the weekend and stuff for my dad. So yeah, it's just it's busy, dude.
What's your dad want to do with this PC? Is it for gaming?
No, it's mostly for photo editing, video editing, stuff like that. So I mean, if I can show you, I've got my heatsink there ready to go.
Nice.
Knocked to a heatsink. That was about £30 or something like that. So yeah, mostly just been lifing. But I mean, I have been playing a game, The Last of Us Part 1, and we'll get onto that later.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Yeah, overall, pretty good week. And but what about you, Brian?
So you've been getting those massive gains, and you've been putting a PC together. So basically, you're Henry Cavill.
Right. Well, I'm not at his level. No, nowhere near. He's level 100 Chad. I'm probably level 5.
I feel when you're someone like him or The Rock, I feel like you have to start taking steroids when you're 9 and then not stop till you're 40 to get there. Yeah. If you started now, you would have to be 90 before you reached his current state.
Yeah, I'm behind the curve. I mean, the thing with Henry Cavill though is he went on Graham Norton once and he said he was called Fat Cavill when he was young. He was a bit Cavill. He was a bit chubby, I think. Yeah.
That stuff ruins you, man. I got made fun of for being chubby when I was middle school and stuff, and
yeah, I went through a phase of having the what would you call it, puppy fat in many ways, that puppy fat.
Yeah,
phase.
It's before you go through puberty kind of deal. Where it's building up for the Stretch Armstrong
it's
moment.
You're prepping for Super Saiyan, you're like
percolating them puff tits. Yeah.
Yeah.
My week has been pretty good. Not too much interesting. Obviously, we're recording a little early this week because I'm going out of town to Washington, D.C. My wife has a conference there, so we're going on a little family trip, taking my daughter. I'm not sure what we'll do, but basically while Erica's doing work, me and River will be sightseeing in D.C., which will be fun. So that's coming
cool,
up.
Dude.
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow. Leaving early to do that. So far this week, nothing too interesting I've really done. I did beat a game, kind of. We'll talk about that later. But I rewatched 2 movies that I'd already seen before. I watched Parasite. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
No, I haven't, but I heard all the buzz about it.
Yeah, very good movie. Very just a story that you wouldn't expect. It's not like anything you've ever watched before.
Yeah.
So rewatched that and rewatched Pan's Labyrinth. Neither movie in English, both subtitled. So
yeah. I watched over the weekend. I watched half of or I'd say about 2/3 of Two Towers.
Okay.
Didn't get to finish it just because we were so busy. But yeah, dude, that is just a mind-blowingly good film. Even though it clearly has pacing issues, but surprisingly this time around, it didn't bother me as much as the last time I watched it and stuff. And obviously I've watched it 3, 4, 5 times now. I remember I got to the point when he gets to you see Rohan, Theoden's village and keep and sort of area, whatever you want to call it. When the camera pans over this town, this village, it's just so good, dude. Like it was quite like emotional with the music, the Ride of the Rohirrim music and stuff. Yeah, so good.
See,
So,
I never think of that movie having pacing issues, but I guess I do always think of how it has like large swaths of like slow moments. So maybe
yes.
that's kind of what you mean. Because I mean, I think whenever I think of Two Towers, I kind of picture like Helm's Deep occurring like smack dab in the middle of the film, and I think it's actually more towards the back end. I
It
don't
is.
think
It is
it's not in the
definitely. Yeah,
middle.
we're not there
Yeah,
yet. I've just gotten to the point where Aragorn comes back
yeah,
from the dead.
yeah. Which not in
Yeah.
the books actually.
Hmm? Yeah.
So we're no fake death in the books. But yeah, did you ever start Godzilla -1 or haven't got there yet?
No, we didn't get there.
Okay. Yeah, dude, you can't beat those movies. Top tier, top tier.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Anything else we want to talk about from this week, Joe? Before we get, I think normally I would meander a little bit more here, but like, holy shit, the amount of things to talk about.
No, not really. There's
Joe,
some
you're looking
drama.
around your
There's
around your room like you lost like a 25-pound weight and you need it.
No, I mean, there's some drama in the family right now. Like I've heard through the grapevine that my sister my sister has punched one of her like old friends who they've been beefing for ages with in the face or something.
Oh my.
So like, and it's like exam period it's like finals for her right now. So it's like, why are you like getting in all this drama when like you should be taking your finals and stuff? Like, shouldn't your
Yikes.
priorities be somewhere else? But yeah, I mean, I stay out of that business, Brian. It's
Are you like hearing it in your house? Is that what it is? Are you like
well,
hearing
no,
it or
like
something?
she called me and was like, can you she called me when I was driving to do this podcast, and she was like, can you tell mom to answer her phone to me? And I'm like, well, why won't she answer her phone? She's like, because I punched Kasia in the face. I'm like, like
Wow.
I'm not getting involved in that shit, dude, because that's some
Okay.
teenage malarkey. Like,
It's gonna be crazy if Kasia is listening to this while they're relaxing with the steak on their face. You know,
she's got the bag of peas on her face.
yeah. Wow, that's wild, dude. No, we will move into the news for the last week, guys. Kind of crazy. We're gonna get into kind of some of the showcases where there's some information that obviously, if it doesn't apply to PlayStation, we'll just skip over it. But there's also some stuff that does apply to PlayStation that we don't really care about, so we'll probably skip over that. A lot of stuff to talk about here, but first thing up here, I don't really have the particular. I guess the site is news.defaminicogamer.jp. It's a Japanese website, but I got this through the forum Resetera. I just thought this was cool to shout out for PlayStation 5 fans and people who might have been worried about Rise of the Ronin as an exclusive. I know I was concerned that maybe it wasn't selling too well, but the director of Koei Tecmo, Fumiko Yasuda, says that Rise of the Ronin is currently the best-selling Koei Tecmo title so far. The game has a stronger start than Neo did, and Neo is kind of known as like Neo's not like Dark Souls level huge, but it's been known as like a quality title that people like and appreciate. So,
Yeah.
for this being Koei Tecmo's biggest title so far, that's pretty awesome. It's something that I kind of wanted to try, but between like the high price tag and a lot of the buzz has not been bad anywhere. It's just been more like meh. It's like a lot of people have been like, oh, it's kind of like a Japanese Assassin's Creed, but it's not made by Ubisoft.
Yes.
So it is something I'd like to get to. It was recently on sale for $50, but I was like, I think I could probably get on sale cheaper than that. But I'm glad to see it successful. This is the first title, I believe, from Koei Tecmo that Sony was directly involved with the IP, whereas like Neo, I think they just published it, but they didn't own it. I think Rise of the Ronin might be owned by Sony, if I recall correctly. So great to see. Do you have any interest in Rise of the Ronin, Joe? Does it surprise you that it's the best-selling title? I'm surprised, honestly.
In all honesty, it's kind of crazy considering I don't know. I mean, it's beating the Neo series when it comes to like sales, obviously, which is crazy because as far as I'm aware, the Neo series collectively 1 and 2 have sold 7 million units, or 7 million copies rather, not units. We're not talking about consoles here, and that's pretty wild that already within. I mean, like, how old is Rise of Ronin? Like 2-3 months or something, like.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably referring to like they can do a trajectory of how much it will sell over time. So, of course, it hasn't sold what Neo has sold already, but the pace in which it's selling, they can probably dictate that out that it's going to be more successful. That'd be
Yeah.
my assumption.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with it is it's been a month and like a week, I think, since Rise of Ronin, like according to this. So it's like, I mean, that's already crazy that even if it's like on track to sell more than Neo, and considering it's on like a singular platform, it's behind obviously like one side of the gaming industry in many ways. Like it's wild that is well selling more than a game that's on third party, you know. And the
Was
thing with
Neo
it
on
is
Xbox? I didn't know that. I don't think Neo was.
yeah, it is. It's on
Oh, really?
Windows. I mean, it's on Windows. It's on
Okay.
PC.
Okay.
So it like has the sort of like it has like
Yeah.
that market share that kind of like bleeds into Microsoft in many ways. But obviously, it had to be on Steam and stuff like that and Epic. But yeah, crazy that like this is the case. I think the fact that this shows how strong PlayStation 5 is from a market share standpoint, and also just like a player base standpoint. Yeah, absolutely incredible. It's also crazy because Neo is fantasy more than Rise of Ronin is,
Mhm.
and you think, in all honesty, Neo would be selling way, way, way more because of that alone. But the fact that Rise of Ronin is kind of like alternate history, and it's selling this much is pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting how this maybe came out at the perfect time because if you look at Sony's fan base, there's probably a lot of fans of Ghost of Tsushima there.
Yeah.
And then right at the time Rise of the Ronin comes out, Shogun is this huge show.
Mm, mm,
And then not too long after Rise of the Ronin, Ubisoft unveils Assassin's Creed Shadow, which is a
yeah.
Japanese set game. So it's like a lot of people might have been like, okay, I want to get my Japanese fix right now, whether it be through Shogun or Assassin's Creed, or a lot of people were hoping maybe we'd see a Ghost of Tsushima 2 announcement by now. So
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of people have been in the mood for a samurai title right now. So they might have just been in the sweet spot where like this might not be the IP people are particularly looking for, but it's the only one that's new and ready to play right now. So
Mhm.
they got a nice pocket with that. So I think I
Yeah.
will buy this, but it's probably going to have to be discounted quite a bit because
Yeah. It'll
I
be
got too
yeah.
many games, you know.
Yeah, it discounted for me as well when I pick it up. But like the thing with it is this like Rise of Ronin has not been as critically like well received as Neo, and that's another thing. This, in
Yeah.
many ways, like aside from what you said about like just the osmosis of Shogun and just like wanting like more Japanese, more samurai stuff. I think, in all honesty, like every side of what Rise of Ronin was going for was kind of the chips were against them in many ways, and the fact that they've sold more than they have, whether it's like you said, osmosis, or it's the fact that it's on PlayStation 5, which is obviously an ecosystem that has trained their gamers to buy their games and not rely on a subscription service, is pretty incredible, you know. So
I can't believe how strong the year for Sony has been. None of these are first party, but literally at the beginning of the year, they've had Helldivers II, Final Fantasy VII
mhm.
Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin, and Stellar Blade. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
four
100%.
dope titles, and it's not that's just the beginning of the year, and it's not even first party. So
Yeah,
yeah, they
100%.
Sony continues to be on a roll. All right, this next one, Joe, I think we'll have a lot of fun talking about. It's kind of been something you and I have been back and forth on for a long time now. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League left a $200 million hole in Warner Brother Discovery's video game division. A new report from Bloomberg details the major struggles that went on behind the scenes at video game studio Rocksteady. So this is from the reports from Bloomberg, but we don't pay for Bloomberg, so this is actually coming from The Verge. It says Warner Brothers Discovery took a $200 million hit after the launch of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The troubled looter shooter released in February, and now we have a sense of what went wrong. A new report from Bloomberg details some of the studio's struggles behind the scenes, including inexperience with the multiplayer genre and a constantly changing vision. Rocksteady, the UK-based studio owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, was tasked with developing a Suicide Squad game in 2016. At this time, new Rocksteady employees were reportedly unaware that the studio was developing a multiplayer game, as Rocksteady is known for its single-player action-adventure games like Batman Arkham Knight. This caused many employees to leave, Bloomberg reports. The game's development didn't go smoothly. Rocksteady's leaders kept changing their ideas for the game, turning their focus from melee combat to heavy gunplay, Bloomberg reports. The studio struggled with making its battles, levels, and bosses feel less repetitive, one of the biggest issues for live service titles, whereas players are asked to retread large parts of the game. The studio also wasn't accustomed to the level of complexity required to develop such a massive map and the 4 playable characters. Rocksteady co-founder Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker left the studio in 2022 to start a new endeavor, with continued setbacks like pushing the game's release date until this year. Warner Bros. Discovery revealed the game's $200 million loss during the company's earnings calls in May, with CEO David Zaslav calling its release disappointing. So apparently this is one of the biggest losses in video game development ever. The vast majority of video games made don't even cost $200 million to make. And Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, lost $200 million. They actually thought this game was going to be huge. Seems like everywhere, like everyone everywhere understood this was going to be a problem a long time, like well over a year or two ago. I remember when this was very first announced before we knew anything about it. It was just a CG teaser, and it was called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I was like, I didn't want a Suicide Squad game, and I'm not really interested in killing the Justice League. And then more came out about it, and they're like, oh, third-person shooter, oh, live service. And it just became like, no, I don't want to play this at all. And then it finally came out, and everyone's kind of like, oh, yeah, there's some genuine good stuff in there, but overall, it just kind of sucks. And then everyone's asking, like, why did this get made? No one asked for it. Why is Rocksteady doing a live service when they normally do really good single-player games? And this game came and went like a fart in the wind earlier this year.
Yeah, 100%.
Nobody talks about it anymore. So this is hardly surprising. I'm actually surprised. I didn't pull this up, but they did double down on saying they would put out the rest of their what's the word they use for their timeline of new content they had released.
Season passes and shit.
Stuff like that.
Content
it's
delivery.
Not really content delivery. Yeah, what they said they would put out there, they said they're going to stick to it. They're not going to cut it off early.
Yeah.
But they're dead silent on what will come after that. And what we know is that it's nothing. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Joe. Neither of us are interested in this game. Neither of us bought this game. It didn't look good. It wasn't good. It's not doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think? And here's another thing that's not mentioned in this report that I read earlier is that the team at Rocksteady is now helping create a like Game of the Year edition of Hogwarts Legacy. So Rocksteady, who used to be like, they're on support for another team when they were like freaking the Batman Arkham people, dude. Like, so very, very sad. What do you think about Suicide Squad losing 200 million, and what do you think Rocksteady's future looks like going from here?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with like Suicide Squad from the start was that this game never had like a good marketing point in its entire build up. Like starting out, you had like reports of Rocksteady working on a Superman game, and it was like, like, what is that? Like, oh, okay, that sounds like really cool. Is this going to be like the first proper like Superman game that's coming out? Like, oh like shit,
Arkham
like
quality,
Arkham quality, yeah. Like if they've done it with Batman, like these are maybe the best team to do a Superman game. Like they're in the best position out of all of the studios, and obviously Arkham Knight like did pretty well critically. It did all right critically, did pretty well critically. Obviously culturally, it was kind of like punched down upon by the established fan base for not being what they wanted and relying too much on the Batmobile and stuff. And obviously commercially, it did rather well. But yeah, dude, it was weird because it started out with that, and then they showed it off, and it was like, okay, well, it's Suicide Squad, and Superman's in it, but it's still a Superman game. It's like that's kind of like a pretty poor like way of kind of like, obviously the rumors was that it was a Superman game, so it was never confirmed that was the case, but it was like, oh damn, what a letdown, you know, like seeing that kind of like not come to fruition in many ways. Because I mean, like, you know, this was in many ways like this was the point when like a lot of like E3, like the E3 CEO and stuff was saying like single player games are dying and stuff like that, and it was around that point where it was kind of like, you know, well, like maybe it's time for this to potentially blow up and stuff and all that. But it's kind of weird because in 2022, just like this report said, then you had co-founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker leaving the studio. So like pretty much like not immediately after that, but like during development, you already like you had like that kind of like the whistleblowings or like the rustling in the trees of this is not looking good. I mean, you've got like the structure of the studio like falling by the wayside in many ways and going to you know greener pastures, or hopefully so. And obviously the game comes out, or the game is nearing coming out, and they're showing off all these features, and the UI looks terrible, and the overall gameplay just looks like messy and just all over the place and lacking in any form of identity other than just being like a run-of-the-mill live service game with happenstance that there's Suicide Squad characters in it. And then it comes out and it's pretty much like, while it's not like the worst game ever made, it's basically in a perfect position for gamers who are struck on principle, such as me and you, Brian, to basically be like, we don't want to play this. Like, this is
Mhm.
not what we've asked for. We've never asked for Rocksteady to do this. And there's no way you're going to make us buy it because it looks like utter just like trash, or like, not again, like trash might be hyperbolic because at least it functions and at least like there's some level of
And
verticality
it
to it.
looks
And
beautiful, and the voice
yeah,
acting's amazing. The mocap on the
yeah,
faces are great. But I mean, largely the thing is, you start playing this game, and it's a lot of like jumping, boosting around, shooting like gooey
yeah,
like enemies,
yeah.
and then as you play, you find out that that's pretty much the structure of the whole game. Is
Mm,
the main campaign is doing the same missions over and over again, killing the same gooey enemies, and then you get to the end, and it opens up into what the live service element is,
mm,
and the live service element is doing what you did through the whole campaign repetitively ad nauseum, like for 9 seasons.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, so
yeah.
we didn't ask for this game, we didn't ask for this premise. The enemies aren't very interesting. There's no mission variety. Why are we? Because I remember a lot of people being like, oh, it's really cool hearing these characters banter. I
Mm,
like their acting. There's a moment where like Batman tries to like do the whole Predator thing on you as a part of
mm.
being a part of the Suicide Squad, and it's like, oh, that was kind of neat. But like the moments of like awesomeness were few and far between and very fleeting, and it just didn't feel like a game worth investing in. And I don't think many people did.
No, no, 100%. And I honestly think this is a game that came, honestly, 10 years, 9 years, 8 years too late. In all honesty, like, this is a game that
Yes,
should have been,
plus yes,
yeah,
plus still not even something someone would ask for then. Like
exactly.
from a service model, I think you're right. But I think
Yeah.
even 10 years ago, and no one was asking for a Suicide Squad kill the Justice
No,
League.
no, no, like, yeah, exactly. From a creative sense and from a gamer sense, not necessarily, but in terms of like the structure of what this game was, it's at the most a decade too late. And it's a shame in many ways that like Rocksteady. Well, it is a shame in all ways that Rocksteady was basically put on this task, on this project, this creative. I say creative in air quotes, creative endeavor. That is essentially just born out of CEO, publisher desire for some form of live service title that they can milk indefinitely, and the fact that like now we've had reports that the developers had no clue what they were working on. This harkens back again to like Anthem problems where like
Yeah.
they had no playable game and it was all fluff essentially, like all that trailer was fluff, and this is coming back to those days, and it's such a shame now because like you said, if they're working on supporting Hogwarts Legacy, because like obviously WB have looked at Hogwarts Legacy sales as like an absolute behemoth and gone, oh well, might as well put Rocksteady on there until we know what to do with them. The fact that that's the case now for one of the one time one of the greatest third party developers on the seventh and eighth generation, but particularly the seventh, with City and Asylum. I like to answer your question. I honestly think it looks bleak for Rocksteady. They're lacking in leadership. It seems to be the case, and they have very little direction in terms of where they need to be creatively. And it seems, in all honesty, that Warner Bros. They don't know. Warner Bros. Have perpetually fucked up when it comes to reading the industry and listening to feedback every single time.
Yeah.
And the only thing that has kept WB Games afloat when it comes to that is the fact that their studios underneath them have been able to make something out of the shit show that they manage. And that's been the case since they started. WB in general, in all honesty, it comes back to the movies as well, pre James Gunn. Obviously we're yet to see how that sort of like pans out with him at the helm, but WB in general have always been just like all over the fucking shop. Aside from their comics and their animation, their movies and their games have always been all over the place. So, yeah, absolute shame. I'm tired of this. Rocksteady deserves better. The people working at Rocksteady deserve better. They just want to make cool games, clearly, and I think they have the talent because, from a gameplay sense, again, like Suicide Squad, from again a mechanical gameplay sense, it actually looked pretty fucking good. It's just that they couldn't make ends meet with where they wanted to take the game, and a sense of direction, a sense of feature creep can weigh heavily on a development process like no other. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It sounds like basically the the CEOs were basically saying, "Hey, how about this idea? Let's do this." And then the developers were like, "But we already developed in this way for 3 months. What you're asking me to do would take like 3 or more months." And it's
Yeah.
like you can't just shift on a dime like that. And yeah, I think what I would want WB to do is to say, "Hey, current team at Rocksteady, pitch us a single player game that you guys believe in.
Yeah.
Give them some money and time to make it, and give them a shot on that." But if you look at, and I'm not saying this is a 1-to-1 because it's definitely not, but like if you look at what happened with Arcane Austin and Redfall
Mhm.
last year, they got put into the situation of doing like a live service type thing. Redfall sucked. And then everyone was like, "Oh man, well, Arcane Austin did Prey. Like they're not going to get closed, right? They'll get one more chance." And then it
Mm.
took a year. And in 1 year's time,
Yeah.
they shut down Arcane Austin. So maybe we're looking at them using Rocksteady right now to finish off the promised content for Kill the Justice League and for helping out with like Hogwarts Legacy and support stuff. And maybe they close Rocksteady. I don't want that, but like you look at how long they spent. I mean, they spent about a decade
Yeah.
developing Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. All it did was lose money. Your lead guys aren't at the company anymore. Feels like, I mean, now games are more expensive and troubling in development than ever. So
Yep.
I hope they're not closed. I hope they get another chance. But like
Yeah, they
I'm
deserve
not
another chance.
I'm not upset that this game did poorly because I think gamers voted with their wallets on this one, and that's what I wanted them to do because I don't. Obviously, it's not just me. Most of us don't want a game like this.
This is the most principled time I've ever seen gamers. Genuinely, it's the most plugged in they've ever been. It's the most connected they've ever been to the news feeds and all the, just like like the news feeds and the online connectivity and like how passionate everyone is and stuff. And it's getting more mainstream nowadays. Just by the way of like the industry growing, it's becoming more mainstream to become as passionate as we are, Brian, when it comes to the industry, and that's getting that's just becoming a much more commonplace thing. And it just all factors into Suicide Squad just not being the right thing to do right now. Like people are wanting tight, quaint experiences where, I mean, in many ways, the pendulum is swinging. When you look at Assassin's Creed RPGs where people are like, including myself, like, oh, when the first Origins came out, the first Assassin's Creed Origins came out, or back when Syndicate was out or Unity was coming out, it was like, okay, bigger world, really cool, lived in hyper simulation in many ways. We're getting to a point now where the pendulum is kind of swinging the other way. We kind of want that linearity, maybe a little bit of open world, a little bit of extra content, but we kind of want 30 to 40-hour experiences because not only are more games coming out per platform than ever before, and that's continuously growing, but games are becoming like ever more foundations and platforms than ever before. Like every game pretty much has some form of monetization to it if it's online. And even the single player games we have, like Capcom's bloody remake saga with the Resident Evils, you can even buy microtransactions in that to help you along and stuff. And everything's becoming a platform. So gamers times, we always talk about it. We talk about it a lot, and I always bring it up that I'm trying to like just play games and life stuff keeps getting in the way. But honestly, like because of the pendulum swinging in various elements, like every thing we've just spoke about Rise of Ronin having all the chips stacked against them. In many ways, Suicide Squad was the exact same way. And for people that who don't know how much $200 million is in terms of game development costs, that is like a whole game, dude. Like that is a Last of Us Part 2 kind of scale that's gone down the drain, and that is enough to close studios entirely. And I just hope that's not the case. This is a big deal, and it's hard because like a lot of people will be looking at this right now, especially after Arkham Knight, and and looking at it kind of negatively and going, well, and very critically and going, well, they're down 2 for 2 now. This and Suicide Squad and Night are not representations of what gaming should be, and maybe they should be closed. Maybe they should go away and stuff. And it's like I don't think we're that far gone. But in all honesty, like we're at a point where like it's sink or swim now for Rocksteady. And in all honesty, I don't blame Rocksteady. I don't necessarily think that statement's true in itself. I think it's sink or swim for Warner Bros. Games at this point, and it's kind of a shame that Hogwarts Legacy has done so well to keep like Warner Bros. Games afloat, because they will always rely on that IP now to go, oh shit, like yeah, we've got a golden goose right now. Like that thing.
I remember like earlier this year, they cited the success of Hogwarts Legacy
Yeah.
as why they would go into live service even harder.
Mm.
And it made no sense at
I was
all
like,
because
what?
Hogwarts Legacy isn't live service.
Yeah.
But they did that. They were literally like, oh, yeah, we have great successes like Hogwarts Legacy. That's why we're doubling down on live services. Like,
This
it
is what
doesn't
I
compute with
mean,
me at all.
dude.
Yeah.
They're so out of touch as a publisher, and it's scary, dude. Like, Rocksteady, buy yourself out. Leave. Leave.
Imagine if like how many Helldivers could have been made for the price of Suicide Squad, like because they went so hard in this like high fidelity, like 'cause this is like Arkham Knight fidelity,
Yes.
a game and like budget, but it's expecting a whole different type of audience.
Uh-huh.
So I think there's also something to be said about like what your goals are for your game design and your long term goals, and like what kind of money is put in for what kind of output, right? Because like something like
investment, sure, yeah.
yes, like something like Helldivers 2, of course, is it's doing really well, and it's because it didn't really shoot for the stars. It just kind of it shot moderately, and then now it is in the stars anyways. So
sometimes less is more, and I think Rocksteady and again WB Games more so can learn from that. You don't always have to build your rocket ship and try and fly to Mars. Try and fly to the moon. Like just relax a little bit. Put less fuel in that bad boy. So yeah, just such a shame. Arkham Asylum is one of my favorite games of all time. And same with Arkham City, Arkham Origins as well, even though that's obviously not Rocksteady. But it's weird, dude, because you've got that Wonder Woman game coming out soon as well, and it's like, are you not listening to the industry right now, dude?
No.
Like, pack it in.
I don't know, dude. I hear people calling from the rooftops that they want a Shadow of Mordor Nemesis system Wonder Woman game.
Dude, I've heard no one speak positively or speak on the fact that they want the Wonder Woman game.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
nothing.
Like, if it's good, it's good.
It's good. But
it's good. But like, I just seems like a weird decision. Just like this felt like a weird decision. Like the Arkham series was truly when things made sense, and I wonder if they just thought. That the success from the Arkham games was like something that could be easily replicated, so they just kind of do whatever they want next. But then again, they got like Hogwarts Legacy, but Hogwarts Legacy was like a game that really paid homage to the fans and was like an actual good experience. So, yeah. But anyways, we'll move on. What's that, Joe? You want to say something else?
No, I said moving on.
Oh, okay. I thought you said and I thought you were about to go on a diatribe there. But okay. We're going to go into Summer Games Fest 2024. So this was Friday of last week. There's not a whole lot here that really captures Joe or I, but there's a couple things we want to mention. We'll kind of go down the list here. The first one, I find there to be something extremely interesting about this, and I wonder if it's indicative of anything deeper or if I'm just overthinking it. But first thing to show up at the Summer Games Fest is the Jeff Keighley-led show. It's not a platform holder. Lego Horizon Adventures is coming to PlayStation 5. So this is the series Horizon for PlayStation, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West. It's getting its own Lego game. A couple interesting things about it. I'll read forward here. The long-rumored Lego Horizon Adventures game kicked off Summer Games Fest, revealing brick versions of Aloy and the robot dinosaur fans have come to know over recent years. First footage of the project revealed a Lego adventure that's a bit more family-friendly than Guerrilla Games' mainline series, including what seems to be the option to play co-op with a friend. The footage also teases customization options to enjoy when Lego Horizon Adventures comes to PC via Steam and the Epic Game Store, Nintendo Switch, and PS5 this holiday season. So I look at this one of two ways. You got big boy Phil out there saying that we got to put our games on other platforms. Everybody's gonna have to put their games on other platforms because it's the only way to make games profitable anymore is to put them on as many places as possible. So when I see Sony has their IP going over to Switch with Horizon, my brain kind of goes to, oh, wait a minute. Are they experimenting with like maybe putting their titles on other places other than PC? But then I kind of pull back and go, you know what? I think this might be a hyper specific case because this is Lego. Like, I think it might be because of Lego and the appeal of the Switch and that branding that's why it's on here. Obviously, it's probably beneficial for PlayStation as well, but like, I actually don't think this would be indicative of anything from Sony, from Sony specifically, really coming to Switch. Like, I do think we might see like Final Fantasy, 7 Remake or 16 on a Switch too, but those are obviously not Sony-owned titles.
Yeah.
But Horizon is. So, What do you think, Joe? I mean, first of all, are you going to play Lego Horizon Adventures? Are you going to buy it? And are you surprised that it's coming to Switch? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm not surprised. And I would actually go one step further that this is potentially not even a Lego thing. I think this is a Horizon thing. And what I mean by that is not necessarily the mainline titles of Horizon come into every platform going forward, whether PC, Epic, Steam, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series XS, whatever. I don't necessarily think it's a Lego proprietary thing. I think it's a Horizon thing. They've mentioned many times that they want to really go hard with Horizon. They want to franchise the shit out of it.
It's crazy.
And I think that the way they are going to do it is they're going to potentially pick this franchise as kind of potentially a testing phase for like kind of not locking one of their main franchises off so hard and having their spin-off titles across the board within obviously the Horizon franchise to go third party. And I think in many ways it's a logical move because it kind of bleeds into potentially their business model of, well, if you play games late on PC that are exclusives, that are like, God of War Ragnarok, Tsushima, stuff like that, I think it kind of is in line and consistent with the same business model in the sense that it brings people into the mainline titles from, say, your Horizon MMOs, your Horizon shooter games, your Horizon Lego games. I think there's a level of osmosis there. Said that word a lot this episode around, but there's a level of like bringing people across that I think people aren't realizing with Horizon. And one of the reasons that is because Horizon is huge, dude. It's such a huge franchise for them.
It's crazy. I don't understand it fully. Like I think that, I mean, just for clarification, guys, like I think Joe and I both think that the Horizon games are well made, good games.
Objectively, yeah, 100%.
And we've both played. I've played and beat both of them. You beat the first one, right?
No, I've not even beat it.
Okay. Well, we're not big fans of the series.
You always think I do. Yeah. Like, you always like, oh yeah, you beat the first one, right? And I'm like, no.
No, but you played it, though.
I played a good, 20 hours of it, 15, 20 hours most. And I've when I played it, the first time was, a good 15 to 20 hours. And I stopped playing it because I just couldn't. I was so bored. Like, those 15, 20 hours, it just wasn't grabbing me. I was, waiting for ages. And subsequently, I've tried to replay it and restart my playthrough, because obviously when you leave a playthrough for so long, you don't know where you are anymore and stuff, and you kind of you have to restart it to get back into it. But every time, every time I've restarted it, it's 5 hours and I'm done. I can't. There's something about Horizon I just find incredibly boring.
Here's the thing, and I'll even go one step further and say I think these are really pretty good games. I enjoyed playing the first. Enjoyed playing the first and the second one. I beat them both. But the thing is, I don't like the premise of the game. It's hard for me. I'm not a fan of Horizon because I don't like the premise of we're in prehistoric times, but we're with robot dinosaurs. I don't like, and I don't like the gameplay of fighting them really. I don't find it fun to fight the robot dinosaurs. So the whole premise is kind of lost on me. But they're really quality games, and I played them both. And unlike Joe, I will actually buy and play the third just because I have a good time with them. But I'm just not a huge fan of them. But it's crazy how successful this series is to where the franchise is up to closing in on 40 million copies sold across, and it's not even that old of a franchise. And they're expanding into MMOs and TV shows and the Lego spinoff. And it's I get expanding it because it is so popular, but I'm why is it so popular? We're talking, it's got comparable sales to the Spider-Man games on PlayStation. Why is that? I don't understand.
The only way I can see it is it just appeals, like you said in the past, it appeals to that Ubisoft open world, and I think in many ways people see it as the prestige gaming industry version of those titles. And in many ways, Assassin's Creed Valhalla sold a shit ton of copies. Assassin's Creed in general sells a shit ton of copies. They're not over. People sit here complaining, including myself, that Assassin's Creed is stale, Assassin's Creed is boring, or whatever, and it's not the right direction for the series, which I would agree creatively. But in all honesty, business wise, that formula sells, dude. It's big for them. So yeah, dude. And the craziest thing is, in all honesty, is even though I've never really been a Lego gamer. I enjoyed the Star Wars Lego games back in the day, but because this is Lego, I actually kind of have more inclination to try this out and play it on sale, of course, than even the second mainline game. it doesn't do it for me. The mainline games, there's something about it. Maybe if I go back to them with a fresh mindset, but I've got it all on with like going back and playing The Last of Us Part 2 soon. So yeah, dude. I mean, this is kind of cool though. A lot of people were saying like, why is this a thing?
It's a neat idea.
In all honesty, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like as someone who is the most detached from Horizon games in general, like I actually think this is a pretty fucking cool thing creatively.
I just had the best idea for Lego The Last of Us 2.
Oh god!
When Abby takes the golf club and Joel's head, she
careful of the spoilers.
She hits Joel's head, and it goes into a golf hole.
Yeah,
it's like a par score comes up, because you know how like those Lego games do silly things, like just completely remove the tension from those moments. But no, I wouldn't mind seeing more like Lego Sony franchises. Like if this was like Lego Jack and Daxter or like Lego Bloodborne, day one, man. But I probably won't play this unless my wife is like, oh, it'd be fun for us to co-op that, and then I would. But I think Lego actually makes her less interested. I think she wants more serious experiences. So I probably won't buy this. But still a cool announcement either way.
Yeah, I've seen like people kind of obviously be like, "What? Why is this the thing?" And in all honesty, guys, just give it a try. Like it might be as good as the last Star Wars game or something. And those games always feel good experiences. And in many ways, we kind of need more of that in the industry. There's a lot of like apathy in gaming, a lot of killing, a lot of murdering, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited for Astrobot. So yeah, cool announcement.
You just wait till we get into all the killing and murdering we didn't know would be an Astrobot. Like there's just like a first person sequence where he like there's a Doom sequence where like Astrobot is dismembering people just like the Doom Slayer. That'd be dope.
Just tearing bots apart with his hands. You just see all the circuitry.
There's like 2 AA batteries in there, like Energizer. It'd be cool. Joe, did you play? You never played Alan Wake 2, did you?
Nope. I want to play Alan Wake 1. I've got it installed on my PlayStation 5, and I'm just waiting for the time.
It's pretty cool. A new DLC already came out for Alan Wake 2. It's already out now since the showcase, called Night Springs DLC. It was a surprise reveal for the studio's otherworldly horror game, and its trailer teases some interesting ties to its grand video game universe. Specifically, Control's Jesse Faden makes an appearance in the footage, though it's unclear how exactly she'll fit in. Of course, all will be revealed when the players get their hands on Alan Wake 2 Night Springs on June 8th. So we're past that now. It's already out.
That's crazy, dude.
So did you play? You played Control though? Maybe.
Yeah. I loved Control.
Okay.
Control was awesome.
Okay, so does that make you even more? Does that make you even more interested in Alan Wake 2, knowing that Jesse Faden's in this? No.
In all honesty, there was nothing about the narrative of Control in terms. Well, here's the thing: Control to me, like from a character perspective, like Jesse Faden and her brother and all these characters, they're boring. Like everything, they're just a vehicle to experience this like crazy new side of the Remedy universe. To me, again, I don't know if Corey will disagree with me on that. He's obviously, you can feel free to, but yeah, they weren't interesting to me. Jesse Faden was not interesting at all. She always looked weird, like the way her jaw was animated and stuff. She looked like her jaw was like busted 24/7, like it was dislocated. But yeah, Control to me was it was all about the gameplay in that world. The way it like told the stories through like FMVs essentially in many ways, like just like real like footage and stuff. It was so cool. And yeah,
I wonder if that has some of the reason why I have trouble getting into Remedy games is because they're not super character heavy. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alan Wake is more character heavy in my honest opinion, just because you spend so much longer. And same with Max Payne, the original Max Payne's, but you spend so much longer just in their headspace as protagonists, and you do with Jesse Faden as well, but she's just not interesting to me. Like, there's nothing about her that stands out as a character. She's very like straight as an arrow, matter of fact, let's go do this. And like, while I respect that as a character, because like, I mean, we were talking about like Ada Wong in Resident Evil 4, how she's not very like emotional and stuff. I respect that from like Ada, but it's because I'm inferring why she's the way she is, because she's kind of closing herself off from like Leon and stuff to sort of defend herself. But there's nothing in Jesse Faden to make her be like that around other people. I guess she's got trauma because of her brother and stuff. But yeah. This doesn't make me more excited to play the game itself and play the DLC. I'll play it, no doubt. But yeah, I'm more interested in just playing the base Alan Wake 2, playing Alan Wake 1 again. Yeah.
Okay, just another quick one here, Joe. What is your thoughts on Valorant coming to console? It's going to be on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Have you ever played Valorant?
I played
Do you like it?
Valorant probably like 40, 50 hours or something like that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It was never. I never liked it as much as Counter Strike and stuff. Like I was a big Counter Strike gamer, 2016 to 2019, roughly something like that. Um, but yeah, I think this is just a solid business move. I can't see how this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
More people can play it. Valorant is a great title. You know, it obviously blends the hero side of things from Overwatch with the more Counter Strikey elements. Yeah, great stuff. I'm sure people will love to play it.
Okay. Yeah. Valorant, obviously, it's probably not something I would play, but I've heard so many great things and having it on multiple consoles with PC. Interesting that there's no cross progress or there's no like cross play, which is
Hmm.
seems like a mistake to me.
Well,
But
here's the thing. I got to be honest.
is
If
it because
you
of the PC controls and stuff?
if you put a PC like this isn't Halo. If you put
Yeah.
like Counter Strike mechanics on PC and console, you cannot combine them in a competitive sense. Maybe they could crossplay it in the casual playlist, but you cannot do it in the sense of a competitive playlist because you will just like PC players would be destroying console players. Like there will be nothing left of console players because even like I mean you'd have to fundamentally put in like some heavy level aim assist to heads,
Yeah.
and if you do that in a game that's like Valorant or Counter Strike or something, you fundamentally lower the skill ceiling and kind of truncate everything about what Counter Strike mechanics are in those games. So yeah, I think there's no reason to have crossplay in all honesty. And
Okay.
the thing with it is Valorant is well when I played it, it's free. Like just pick it up on those consoles,
Yeah.
pick it up on those
Nothing to lose,
platforms.
right? I mean, this space is continuing to get more and more competitive. There's so many options of games to play that are really good that are free, and there's more and
Hmm.
more coming out. So
Yeah, yeah.
just another one to add to the pile. Let's just skip right to the final bit of the Summer Games Fest. Like I said, a lot of stuff here that we weren't really interested in. I think the general universal opinion of Summer Games Fest, specifically the Jeff Keighley show this year, is that man was it underwhelming. Really
Mm.
nothing mind blowing, nothing huge. Couple good things, but it was pretty lackluster. I do like what it ended with though. This is something we saw last year that I thought was pretty cool. Phantom Blade Zero trailer reveals
Ooh.
breakneck action world tour demo. Summer Games
Yeah.
Fest came to an end with a brand new trailer for developer S Games Phantom Blade Zero. Video comes in at just less than 2 minutes long, delivering a good look at some of the project's action and the weapons players can use in their fight against the nightmarish enemies. While we still have to wait for a release date, Phantom Blade Zero will soon reach players' hands thanks to a demo world tour. The demo will make the rounds starting with Summer Games Fest this weekend, then coming to China Joy in July, Gamescom in August, and Tokyo Game Show in September.
Yeah.
So this is that game, that samurai game from like a year ago at the PlayStation Showcase that just had ridiculously meticulous animations that were
Mm.
so cool. And it once again is really badass here. It kind of has a little bit of them like, oh yeah, it's a Souls-like vibes, but it also seems to kind of be doing its own thing. I'm really interested to see if this ends up being like one of the platform holders acquires it and makes it their own, or if it's going to be third party strictly. I think right now it is third party strictly, from what I can tell.
So
But
as far as I'm aware, it is coming to Windows, but it's not
yeah,
coming to Xbox.
Xbox, but it might come later. It might be one of those deals where
Yeah, it
you
might
know,
be a limited time exclusive, but right now it's PS5 and PC only, and I assume it's
okay,
on Epic Games as well. Like, just
yeah.
I don't know if pre-orders are open as far as I'm aware, but yeah.
It's interesting though, because Sony, like, this is, I mean, I know it's not the same thing, but like Sony might be getting a reputation for like having all these samurai games, and like you only need
Mm.
one, and you've already got two, and this might kind of look like a third, and then of course you got like third party stuff like Sekiro as well, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
more of that. So yeah, what do you think of Phantom Blade Zero, Joe? I mean, if everything about this game was as good as it just looks,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm buying it for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
But if I mean, it's gonna really come down to like, what is this game once it's about to like, are the reviews
Yeah.
good? Is it an actual full campaign? Like, what is it?
Yeah, or is it just like fluff Watch Dogs kind of jobby where it's
Yeah.
all smoke and mirrors? But yeah. So this game was something that like really piqued my interest in the last Summer Game Fest last year.
Yeah, that was I think it was the Sony showcase. Yeah.
Was it the Sony showcase? Oh yeah, it
I
was. Yeah,
believe, yeah.
it was the Sony showcase. Sorry, I always get mixed up between them all. But yeah, it looks fire, dude. I remember reacting to the original trailer. That was like, as far as I'm aware, and I know this for fact that wasn't in game, like that wasn't gameplay. that they showed last time. It was all
Mhm.
in-engine rendered stuff because I actually got an email from S Game who basically obviously developed this game. They're from China, and basically they were like they saw my sort of reaction because I put it up on my YouTube channel, and they were
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
yeah, it was nice. It was a nice, like, kind of like, oh, that's really dope. And they were like, we loved what you saw. We loved what we saw of your reaction. And if you're at Summer Game Fest, we'll have like a show stand and stuff, and you can come check it out in person and stuff. And I was like, I obviously replied and says I'm not there in person because it's it's across the bloody
Yeah.
Atlantic. But yeah,
Wow. I'm here with a famous man. Very cool.
not quite, not quite. I know. I'm well aware that I was on a mailing list of thousands, but
Mhm.
yeah, it looked awesome, dude. I remember watching it and just being like, "Oh my god, this is the first trailer." I remember like, "Oh my god, this the animations look unreal. Like, what is this?"
Yeah.
And according to an article by Games Radar, apparently Phantom Blade Zero is not a Souls-like. It's a this is the title headline. It's an irresponsibly fast action RPG that's somehow become one of my favorite Summer Game Fest favorites. So it looks like it's not a Souls-like, even though
Yeah, I knew it wasn't a Souls-like, but it's
yeah.
giving people those vibes.
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just because of how influential Souls is now, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
you cannot be in the hack and slash realm of boss battles now without like kind of this is the Dark Souls of this genre, or this is this,
Yeah.
or this is that, and it's like, come on, guys, like there's more to this. I mean, it's kind of like the way Metroidvanias were. People got sick after Metroid and Super Metroid came out. People were getting sick to tired of people comparing everything in the Metroidvania realm to those games and constantly saying it's a Metroidvania. But yeah, Phantom Blade Zero. This trailer looks fire. This is actual gameplay, according to obviously the email that I received. Really, really, really cool. This is potentially something I'll pick up day one. The animations look absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
It looks like some form of modern rendition. Obviously, it's very like it's more macabre than like say I don't know like Ninja Gaiden Black and stuff, but it has that element
I
of
see
like
that.
hyper fast hack and slash that I really think looks dope as shit. And there's a lot of verticality to like the way you can use your environments in boss fights and encounters. And yeah, dude, I'm excited for this game. It looks absolutely incredible. And I hope to see more. Obviously, the proof will be in the pudding. But I wish S Game like all the best with this because it could potentially be the Souls like game that or I say again, here, even I'm comparing it.
Yeah.
The kind of Souls-like ish game that brings me in because I've not really had one yet. So
No, I mostly just am like, I'll wait for the next FromSoft title. I don't
yeah,
need more. So
yeah. But you make a good point as well about like PS becoming a little bit of like a samurai platform, and by extent, it's become very much a FromSoft Souls-like platform in many
yeah.
ways.
Well, I think Sony wants to be that. I think they got to look back at what they did with like Demon Souls and not
Yeah.
believing in it. And I also believe I think Sony owns like a share of FromSoft as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
So they definitely want to be that console, but you know, FromSoft's like the biggest thing ever now, and they're everywhere. And
Yeah.
you ain't putting that back in the bag. I
Yeah.
think it's gone.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah.
Shuhei Yoshida famously said that like he played Demon Souls when it first came out and was like, "This is never going to sell. Like, I
I don't
can't
even
get with
blame
this."
him. I
Yeah,
don't blame him though
100% at the
because like
time.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there was nothing. There was
and
nothing.
I remember going to Kotaku like when Demon Souls came out, and I had
Yeah,
no idea what it was, but there was an article about how hard Demon Souls was, like how
yeah,
obliteratingly hard it was. And I remember looking at that article in 2009 and saying to myself, I will never play that game. I have no interest in playing something that challenging. No interest. I'll never play that. And then now you fast forward some of my favorite games of all time, and I've beat half a dozen of them. So
mhm,
it's wild. I think it just threw everyone for a loop.
yeah, definitely.
But Joe, we're gonna go over into the Xbox showcase, and you might be saying, Brian,
Hey, Brian, no!
this is the PlayStation show. But
Yee!
Xbox is one of the biggest third-party publishers, if not the biggest third-party publisher
Now,
in the yeah, they are in the
the,
world, and many of their games are coming to PlayStation 5. And gotta be honest with you guys, they had a very, very banger showcase, one of the
indeed.
best showcases I've ever seen. You know, I say this just to get this out of the way. I think many out there would probably be like, "Oh man, uh, Microsoft blew Sony out of the water this year," and I agree in the sense that this showcase is the Xbox showcase was phenomenal and just amazing. But we have to be fair here and look at expectations, because Sony never came out with a showcase. They came out with the state of play, which is they delineate between the two, because the state of play is supposed to be shorter, less hype, less big reveals. And this was an Xbox showcase, so they're not directly comparable. And for someone who says, Brian, that sounds like you're kind of just softballing them. Well,
Sony pony.
Yeah. To be fair, Microsoft and Nintendo have these as well. Microsoft had one this year, the Developer Direct at the beginning of the year. That's more in line with what the state of play was. So the expectations for the Xbox showcase should have been higher than the state of play, and they paid off because the showcase was amazing. But we're going to talk about all the things that were revealed there that will be on PlayStation 5 that we know of now. Many of these other games probably will be on PS5 eventually as well, but might have to wait a bit for that.
Yeah.
So to start off, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 kicks off the Microsoft show. It also ends the show. It's one of those, it's weird how it's one of those things where, like, Call of Duty, it's so big and so popular and so successful that you're never surprised that it gets spotlighted and shown off, and it leads shows and end shows and stuff like that. But you're never surprised. But for people like you and me, it's also like, I don't care at all about this game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about Call of Duty. But they kick it off. Call of Duty coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles. Day one on Game Pass. A couple notable details came out after the fact. The game requires a constant online connection to work, even if you're in campaign, because the textures have to stream in all the time for the campaign, which is freaking weird. It's awesome this is on Game Pass. I know the majority of Call of Duty players are playing online anyways, and if I bitched about it too much, it probably would fall on deaf ears, but it's scary to me that we're living in a time where a campaign is now going to require online because it's streaming in textures. I hate that. I wouldn't have played this if I had to pay for it. I wouldn't have played it free on Game Pass, and I definitely wouldn't play it after finding out the campaign has to require online. But still a big deal, because us over at PlayStation, we're going to have to pay $70 for this title. You can also buy the big edition of Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Big Dick Edition. Yeah,
the Big Dick Edition for only $30 on the Xbox side if you have Game Pass. So Microsoft definitely flexing their bottomless pockets with the big game, because you'll see here the trend as we go through some of these games is Game Pass. You're gonna have to pay for it on PlayStation, but I don't know. I think for many of us who prefer the PlayStation ecosystem, we don't mind getting those games and buying them. We don't need your subscription service, and that's not a diss on Game Pass. Obviously, Game Pass is a great value, but yeah. Any thoughts on? I mean, the show ends with Black Ops 6 as well, Joe, but we're just going to cover it here. Any thoughts on it, whether it's interest in the game or just the day one Game Pass, the campaign requiring online? What are your thoughts on Black Ops 6? Do you like Call of Duty? Do you have much of a history with it?
So this is the weird thing, right? Like, in terms of Call of Duty, obviously I was the kind of generation that was like, oh, Call of Duty, this is the best thing ever, like, because it hit right around the time of Halo 3 properly and stuff. Obviously, it was going before that, but that was when it really kicked off, and Call of Duty 4 was like the most innovative game from a progression standpoint in the casual market on the console space, especially that we'd seen up until that point. It completely revolutionized the industry and in many ways set the foundation for kind of how we see live service titles and progression in our games across the board now in general. We talk about Suicide Squad and monetization and stuff, but all of that is baked into the foundations of gaming history with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and just leveling up and getting that dopamine hit and being obsessive. And yeah, started properly with Call of Duty 4. I obviously played Call of Duty 3 and 2 before that, and like the big red one, and played Medal of Honor before that. But yeah, I think I've pretty much played every single Call of Duty by and large for the most part, aside from, like, I don't know, Infinite Warfare, potentially, something like that. Well, I didn't play Cold War, and I haven't played Modern Warfare 3, so I tell a lie. So the more recent ones I've fallen off of massively, and I have no issue with that at all, because like they've lost me entirely. But it's interesting to me that this is kind of continuing on the storyline, and I mean, Black Ops Cold War was technically Black Ops 5, even though it didn't explicitly list it as that. So obviously people are like, wait, how did we get to Black Ops 6? And
4 didn't have a campaign, so it really feels weird.
Yeah, and 4 didn't have a campaign, so it feels like we're missing 2 installments in the campaign in many ways, but that's by the by. Even though it obviously isn't literally that's the case. But yeah, and the thing with it is, I've always said from ever since I played Black Ops 1, and I've held this opinion all the way through. I played World at War, played Modern Warfares. Black Ops 1 was the best written Call of Duty campaign I have ever played.
I beat
Period.
that one. It was
Yeah,
good.
it's really good. The way it plays with like time dissonance and like amnesia and sleeper agents and stuff like that is just so good, and how it plays into the assassination of Kennedy at the end, inferring that you obviously spoilers for this, but I mean you've had years inferring that you were potentially the killer of Kennedy without realizing you were a sleeper agent. So cool. So cool. Reznov and everything. What are the numbers, Mason? Yeah, incredible. And in many ways, like I kind of wish I could just play Black Ops and these Call of Duty games for the campaign. It's weird. I genuinely have got to the point, like a lot of people do with Call of Duty, I think when they start to get older, is we actually flip and we start to juxtapose our younger self and play the Call of Duty games for the campaign. And I've done that 180 now, where like I'm in that camp that like my stepdad used to be in, where he'd be like, "Oh, I just play for the campaign," and I'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?" And yeah, so I'm there now, so I completely sympathize with that opinion. And yeah, Black Ops 6, it looks like more Call of Duty now that it's on Game Pass. I'm potentially gonna play it, like get it on PC on the Game Pass thing, and just play the
Nothing
campaign.
to lose.
Nothing to lose. I might even sign up for like $1 just because on a new account, because I'm a piece of shit. And I don't want to give Microsoft any of my money. But yeah, why not? Might
What do
give
you
it a
think
go.
about the campaign requiring internet? Does it bother you at all?
Well, not. I don't know. I'm just whatever at this point, because
I mean, think if it was like Metal Gear Solid.
If this was a Metal Gear Solid, it would bother me. But in all honesty, like I've got to download it on Game Pass, and I'll be on my PC, so I've got to download like 300 fucking gigabytes because the game's like huge for whatever reason, and you can't partition it most likely at this point when it launches. Yeah, I mean it's annoying. But in all honesty, like I'm not gonna like get on my Twitter feed and start like boycotting Activision, because they don't give a shit. They'll sell.
No, I mean it falls on deaf ears. It falls on deaf ears.
Yeah, it completely falls on deaf ears, and yeah, I think that sucks. Like objectively, yeah, crap, terrible. Don't do that. No point.
Do you think now? Obviously, we know some of the logistics here. Like we know how well Call of Duty sells. We know it's a $70 title. We know Game Pass is something that Microsoft wants to grow. Last we heard, there were just over 30 million subscribers. Obviously, having Call of Duty Black Ops 6 day one on Game Pass is going to move subscription numbers up, at least at first. That's like a fact that's known.
Yep.
Do you think this combined with the stellar showcase, do you think this is the shift towards like legendary subscriber numbers and like Game Pass really be in the future? Or do you think this is a risky move and it's ultimately going to be like a kind of like a car that gets pushed up a hill and then rolls back down before it can reach the top? Like is it what's it going to be like? Because this is going to be a huge. I mean, they're going to make a ton of money selling copies of it on Steam, selling copies of it on PlayStation. But it's going to be a huge loss for the people that do like Joe just said. Get a subscriber membership and play it and then cancel and. Is this a good move? What do you think, Joe, about Game Pass? I mean, the whole deal.
It's hard, dude, because like, yes, like you said, boost subscriber numbers, boost player count, and it'll obviously inflate Microsoft's like ego when it comes to, oh, we have this many concurrent players, we have this many Game Pass users. Look at this crazy climb. It's like, well, yeah, but you've put the highest selling bloody game franchise on the platform. And you did it for billions of dollars. Like, sure, like 100%, go off. But is it going to be enough to subsidize the cost of thousands of employees who dedicate, like, obviously rotating years depending on studio, but like 2 years minimum to each installment and a yearly release with, hundreds of millions of dollars of production costs? And then some to make the money back when it comes to the actual acquisition itself. I don't know. In all honesty, like it's kind of weird because on the one hand, like I would really love for this to actually like get them up there. I want that car to get onto the hill. Let's not stall this car. Put it into first. Let your clutch out. Find the biting point. Use your handbrake if needed. Get up that fucking hill. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like this is the thing. There's always that side of me that is like fighting when it comes to Microsoft, because I look at this showcase. I'm going to use the showcase as an example here as a representation. I look at this showcase, taking away the PlayStation side of me. I look at this on its own, like, fucking finally. Like, obviously last year's Xbox show was way better than the PlayStation showcase, obviously. But at the same time, it's like you have all of these fucking studios that you've brought in. It's about fucking time. You not only give us release dates, but you also fucking show us some gameplay like Perfect Dark of other fucking games that have been in development for so fucking long. And it's like, yeah, brilliant, great, awesome, do it up. So there's that side of me that's like, I really want Xbox to win. I really want them to get back where they are. They need to get back on the horse because they're still struggling to climb into the saddle at this point. And this is promising. Like, they've got one foot in the syrup, but they haven't cocked their leg over the saddle. But at the same time, it's like where you've come from with this is utter trash. Like, you have single-handedly swallowed up the entire, for the most part, like the main focal points of the third-party scene. And you know, if it wasn't for like Embracer showing like an even lower level of quality in terms of looking after their studios, you're like at the bottom when it comes to like how I look at you when it comes to a publisher standpoint, because you really don't support your studios in the way that I think should be possible, and I think you bite off way more than you can chew. And that falls into like the Black Ops side of things with the Game Pass. It's like, dude, like, please raise these subscriber numbers, please. I'm begging you, because at this point they always say, "Oh yeah, Game Pass is sustainable, but it's not profitable, and we're not seeing year-on-year growth for Xbox as a you know a sub brand under Microsoft." So yeah, dude, I hope. I can't really say if it is. My thing would be no, in all honesty, at this point. But at the end of the day, like, Call of Duty is like on the dude bro console, which is the Xbox. And it's like that's potentially like maybe the place where it needs to be on like a subscription service and potentially grow based on that. So yeah, I don't know. Hard to answer.
The TLDR for me is that I feel like, at least in the short term, and by short term I mean couple years, this is a waste of money. Like, I feel like they'll lose money, because like what we've heard is like they need to be selling, you know, or they need to have subscriber numbers for Game Pass somewhere like upwards of 75 million, maybe around 100 million. They're down around 30. No matter how good this does, it's not going to bring the subscriber numbers anywhere like remarkably close to that at all.
No.
So I think in the short term, this seems like a bad idea financially. Like, it's hard to picture the Game Pass numbers growing that high when you only have Game Pass on PC and Xbox, and there's not that many people who own Xbox consoles compared to like Sony. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I think if you're going to own up to your promise and do what you told your fan base, which is all games come to Game Pass day one, you have to do this. So I'm glad they're doing this to fulfill the promise of what they've said. And it's interesting to see what this will look like. After we're a few years past this like Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda combo, and like they've done Game Pass day one for all this stuff, what's it look like 3, 4, 5 years from now? Do we look back and say, wow, Microsoft was bleeding major money for years and never got anywhere? Or do we look back and say, holy shit, they're closing in on the subscriber numbers to where they can be majorly profitable? Because it's like, I think I've used this example before, but it's like Amazon. For years, Amazon was selling things so as cheap as they possibly could. They were making like no money or losing money. And then one day they finally reached profitability. It's when they went from making nothing to like, boom, a cent or like a quarter of a cent off of a product. Yeah. And then it multiplied by all their products and all their customers. And overnight it was like billions and billions and billions. And now Amazon's huge. Yeah. So if Microsoft can like hold out, which we know they can because they have like limitless money, they can hold out long enough and the subscriber numbers do get high enough, it could end up being something that changes the industry completely, where it's like, okay, yeah, they're putting all these stellar games on there, but they're making hundreds of million or billions of dollars off of Game Pass subscriptions yearly, and it's worth it. So, but that starts another conversation where it's like, do I want that to happen? Because I don't want it to be like this scenario where every other company who makes games feels like they need to be part of a service like this. And it gets to an industry in the future where everyone's just got their Netflix for games. It doesn't feel to me like that's gonna be it's gonna happen, because I feel like we're way far away from this making sense. But Microsoft's one of the biggest companies in the world. They're gonna take their time making sure that they've given it a try. So, and they've also come out since this showcase and been like, hey, we're going to continue to put games multi-platform, just letting you guys know. They've said that.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't been specific about which games, but like our next game up that we'll talk about soon, it's multi-platform and it's owned. So, what would you want to say, Joe?
Oh, I was just going to bring up some stats here. As of 2023, July the 4th, I mean, we've featured him on the show before, but Deek Tweak, you know him?
No. Which one is that? No.
You probably just not remembering the name.
Once, maybe once, yeah.
Yeah. Derek Strickland.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, he put together some data based on Activision CEO Bobby Kotick's testimony on Call of Duty monthly active users and daily active users and platform split. Let's start with Call of Duty's daily active users, DAUs, by platform. So mobile is at the top, understandably so, at 35.7 million, which is a shit ton, right? Then you have PC, which is 17.5 million, which is surprising to me because I thought PlayStation would have been second, but that's not the case.
Same.
PC stays king, just mainly because the amount of platforms that are on there, and also sub-platforms, and then also like just the fact that just by design, PC is a shooter platform. It always will be, just like, you know, we've been speaking about Valorant and Counter-Strike and stuff. And then third is PlayStation with 11.2 million, and then Xbox is at 5.6 million. So they are just under half of the PlayStation user base. So it's one of those things where, even though I just said, like, obviously Xbox is fundamentally and historically a dude bro shooter with Gears, Halo, stuff like that, and obviously they obviously have done deals with Xbox with Call of Duty in the past for like marketing deals and stuff like that. PlayStation, ever since the 8th generation, particularly, have been leading the pack with the sort of duo in many ways, not the pack, but leading the duo with the daily and monthly active users. And obviously that came with obviously the exclusive early access stuff that they, you know, obviously brought out, and also obviously the marketing deals that they had. And yeah, it's one of those things where we have to wait and see. It'll be interesting to see if that changes, because it is active users. This isn't purchases. This isn't, you know, titles owned. So soon as that, obviously that stuff goes onto Game Pass, as soon as Black Ops 6 goes onto Game Pass, that'll be interesting to see the split, because maybe you could have it so you know, it literally catches up, you know.
But hearing those numbers, though, it still doesn't. I mean, obviously, this is a long-term thing. They're not expecting everything to snap into place by the end of this year. But like you say, like a little over 5 million playing Call of Duty on Xbox. Okay, well, you put this day one on Game Pass. Even if it's super successful, it's not going to double the amount of Call of Duty players. So let's say it brings it up to 7 or 8 million. And then let's say on the PC side, it adds a few more million of those PC players get it on Game Pass instead of Steam, which I think PC players are pretty stubborn. They're most likely going to buy it on Steam, but let's say they get it on Game Pass, you know, that's nowhere near enough to make all these games, you know, coming to Game Pass for free day one worth it. So this is something they're going to have to invest in for a long time, continue to commit to this to see it through fruition, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, because this is one of the biggest speculate to accumulate situations like I've ever seen in business, like ever. Especially especially when you factor in the pretense that like it's literally making like negative money. Like, there's no way this is making money. Game Pass is not making money. It's not happening. You know, as much as we can say it's like, you know, doing a shit ton, doing really well when it comes to like just for the customer side of things, you know, like allowing people to get on there and try out games, including myself.
Well, there's so many ways they can spin it to make it sound like it is making money. Because they can basically say like, oh, it's profitable. And what they mean is, if the trajectory goes the way we want it for 8 years, then it's going to be super profitable.
Yeah,
it's not now.
It's word salad and spin. It's spin doctoring in many ways. Like it's proper all over the place. Proper marketing mumbo jumbo. But I mean, like obviously with that Sarah Bond interview with Bloomberg like a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever, when they closed down.
She just took her tongue and went. That's all she did.
Dude, the amount of times the Bloomberg reporter like fucking gave her an out is crazy, and she didn't take it, and she just like basically just like you said, just rolled her tongue around her mouth basically. Yeah, crazy. It's weird. Like I said, it's a crazy. We've really diatribed here and really tangented massively, so I'm going to wrap it up quickly. But this is the craziest in many ways. Like depending on how harsh you are, this is the craziest sunk cost fallacy in business history in many ways.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see what this ABK stuff does and how it comes to fruition, how much speculation will actually come to fruition and accumulate. I have very little confidence in it, in all honesty, just simply because there's no one buying their consoles anyway. But we'll see.
Quarter they sold 800,000 consoles, which is abysmal.
You might honestly just see PC Game Pass numbers go up. Like Game Pass players, you might not. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox blips like a milli, maybe even not even that, and you start to see PC go up like by 5 milli.
Because that's the thing is like let's say you hear let's say you're like a mainstream gamer, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And you hear that Black Ops 6 is going to be absolutely free on Xbox if you have Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have an Xbox already, and let's say you don't have a gaming PC, are you gonna like convince your wife that you need to go out and buy even a Series S for $300+ and subscribe to Game Pass to play your $70 game for free? Why wouldn't you, if you already have a PlayStation, why wouldn't you just buy a PlayStation game for $70?
This is the thing, right? The way I'll end this is I think this is just preparation. It's weird because I think this business model is too hasty on Microsoft's part. This putting Black Ops on Game Pass should have been held off until the next generation. This should have been tied in when Xbox is revealed on like the Xbox Series Z or whatever they want to call it.
To give them a jump start.
And be like, hey guys, this is on Game Pass. You can get it day and day, bada bing, bada boom. Or you can go buy the PS6 and have to pay the price of the console and also pay $70, $80 potentially by inflation at that point for the title.
The only problem with that though, Joe, is what about the bad press for the next year or 2 or 3 where people are like, you said that we'd get all your first party games on Game Pass and they're charging us for, like, if they were charging us for Black Ops 6 this year on Xbox, that'd be some really bad press. I mean, they kind of would have to go against their promise to do what you're saying.
How do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean?
So, because you were saying they should have done this with Black Ops, like on Game Pass, like at the beginning of a console generation. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying instead of doing that now, but now that they own Call of Duty, for them to not put it on Game Pass this year would be to generate fan outrage. Yeah. Because the Xbox community was told by Xbox that it would be there.
Well, my answer to that is Microsoft was a fucking moron to say that. And that comes back to me being a PlayStation gamer and being we always talk about it. PlayStation are the ones to hold their cards very, very close. Like PlayStation's cards are so close to their chest, they're inside their fucking heart, dude. Like honestly, you need to be less fucking transparent. I'm so sick and tired of this whole like, when like Phil Spencer comes out or like Sarah Bond comes out or Matt Bowie comes out and they're like, oh yeah, like this happens, this is happening, this we're doing this, we're doing that. It's like, yeah, cool, like fine, 100%. But like, you don't realize what kind of pit you're digging right now when it comes to like not being able to walk back on your words. And like, honestly, like I don't understand why they wouldn't just wait till the next part of the next generation. Like,
dude, it's crazy because I know like we both want to move on here, but this is something I have to mention. So this is totally on topic. Last night, my wife and I watched a documentary about the Movie Pass. Have you ever heard of Movie Pass?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I'll try to make a long story short. Maybe it might have only been in America. I'm not sure. But long story short, about less than 10 years ago, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, there was this company called Movie Pass. You could pay $10 a month and you could see as many movies in the movie theater as you wanted for $10 a month.
Yeah, we never had it.
Okay. Well, it was in America, right?
Yeah,
and
so
for $10, so it costs $10 for a movie ticket over here. So you pay $10 a month and you can see literally 60 movies a month if you want. And basically this company was basically running their company they're running themselves into the ground, going into extreme amounts of debt because it cost them way more than the $10 they were receiving from customers to pay for the movie tickets when customers would go see a movie 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And then, but what they would do is they would constantly go out in front of cameras and media and talk about how great their plan is, how it's going to be profitable, how they'll share the data. And talking about Microsoft and thinking about Microsoft right now after watching this documentary last night, and this company eventually went tits up. It was out. Movie Pass is no more. I mean, actually, it's come back now, rebranded to something different. But like the Movie Pass as we know it, I'm just like that does kind of remind me a little bit of like the Xbox team, like Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer. Like they're constantly talking, constantly pitching. how
Yeah.
their ideas are good, why they're acquiring this, why they're doing this, why Game Pass works, why it makes sense. But watching that documentary, now with hindsight that it never really worked. It never made sense. They never had a plan other than like hope
Yeah.
that it would work out. And I'm like, now I do think Microsoft's a lot smarter probably than this Movie Pass situation, but I'm
100%.
like, I do wonder how much of that why they're talking all the time. Like Sony is just doing their Sony business. Nintendo is just doing their Nintendo business. But Microsoft is the one that's trying to change everything up, shift people's perspectives, introduce new markets. And that's what Microsoft's doing. They're out there trying to control the narrative a bit. And I think to some extent they are. I think Microsoft has successfully convinced a lot of people in the past year that you need to sell your games on multiple platforms to make it work.
Yeah.
Like I think they've successfully convinced people that needs to happen for everyone, even though it's mostly just Microsoft that's struggling. So it's just a lot to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like I'll just say this, like during the ABK deal and the proceedings and all that stuff that was going on way back when. Well, I say way back when, but it wasn't actually that long ago.
Year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Year and a half, maybe?
Year and a half, yeah. Bobby Kotick, the once CEO of Blizzard, ABK, literally came out and was like, there is no world where I'll put COD on Game Pass.
There's no way to make money. It makes no sense.
It makes no money. But after the sale, it won't be up to me. And
he don't care because he's got his paycheck.
And he's got his paycheck and he's gone. And this is the thing, right? Like, this is the guy that like fucking basically saved, like, despite obviously the controversy behind him. Like, this is the guy that saved Activision, restructured the company, bought a 25% stake in it, and basically like just hostile took over it in a hostile way. And yeah, I mean, in many ways, like maybe Microsoft should listen to that guy more. But obviously, he's gone now, so they don't have to. But obviously, he kept that brand afloat, and the proof is in the pudding when it comes to his reign. And but we'll have to wait and see. Also, we've gone on this topic too long.
I know one more thing I gotta say, Joe. This is so bad, but like
Critical Frames, an Xbox podcast.
you gotta wonder what fans, like hardcore Xbox fans, would think if we sent them back into the past and showed them the future and asked them this question: do you want Microsoft to do Game Pass, where you get your games day one for free on the service for a low cost, but it's going to come at the expense of Microsoft starting to put all of their exclusives on competitors' platforms to make up the cost differential of how much money they're losing on Game Pass? And I bet if you asked almost any fan of Xbox back in the day, including me, probably you, Joe, do you want to give up exclusives to other rival platforms so that you can have Game Pass? We would all be like, no. Are you shitting me? No. Like, no, I'm not going to give up Halo and Gears and everything to PlayStation and Nintendo and whatever and go PC day and date just so that I can get my games through a subscription service for lower money. Like, no. But I think like so many years have been spent conditioning people towards Game Pass that now, once they are bringing their games to other platforms, it's kind of like people don't really realize like that's why that's happening. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with the fact they just spent like $70 billion on Activision Blizzard, but it's also like they're trying to put those games on Game Pass day one. They have to find other ways to make the money.
Yep, 100%.
And that's what they're doing. So it's like, yeah, if you're upset when like Halo comes to PlayStation, I mean, we won't be, but like if you are, like that's because you wanted Game Pass. So yeah, crazy
wow, dude. Anyway, Black Ops 6. Hopefully it's good. Sucks that it's always online, but yeah, that's about it.
If you have a PC, if you're a PS5 player with a PC, just get on Game Pass and don't pay any money for it, or $1 or pay $70 on PlayStation. Don't buy a new console for it. This next one was not surprising to pretty much anybody who's on the internet, like reading about gaming, because it was pretty much leaked. But man, was this badass! Probably one of my most anticipated games of next year. Doom: The Dark Ages officially revealed by id Software. Doom is back. At the Xbox Game Showcase, series developer id Software revealed Doom: The Dark Ages, a medieval take on the legendary FPS franchise that is coming to PC and consoles later this year. First gameplay for the project revealed a game that is undeniably Doom, while also looking like something fans of the franchise have never seen before. Take a look at this trailer, which includes first footage of a chainsaw shield, some impressive gore mechanics, and a few new brutal weapons. So this is kind of the game that Phil Spencer at Xbox used to speak about how games are going to come to other platforms. Doom: The Dark Ages is going to be coming to PS5, just like all the prior Doom games alongside Xbox. So this is a really exciting title set before Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, channeling some Quake vibes, some early Doom vibes. It's all medieval. You got the Doom Slayer wearing like some kind of like Viking clothing and having like a chainsaw shield that he can throw. Looks badass. I love these games. This is an absolute day one buy for me already. Like, I don't even need to see anymore. Day one, game looks amazing.
Yeah.
Joe, are you interested?
Fire. Absolutely fire. Be picking this up on PC. Yeah, dude. I love Doom Eternal. I love Doom 2016 as well. I love the old Dooms as well, but like
all good.
Doom, yeah, all like consistently phenomenal video games. Doom 1 is just amazing. Doom 2 is amazing. I even like, Doom RPG. I like Doom 3 even, they all have
every
their
Doom
own,
is good.
Yeah, they have their own
Doom
little
64?
pockets. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, love Doom 2016, absolutely adored it. But when Eternal came out, I was like, holy fucking shit, this is wild. Like, this is one of the best games I've ever played from a mechanical stance. It never felt
like
bullshit.
Dark Souls mechanic quality.
Yeah, in FPS, and it just feels
FPS.
so fucking good. And when you play it on PC, like, again, like, it's a great on console, but like, you go on up those harder difficulties on console, it's hard enough on PC, but like, fuck me, is it a challenge? And it just makes you feel so badass when you pull it all off and you're cycling through your weapons like you're playing piano on a keyboard. It's brilliant, and this prequel's so cool. And one thing I love about it is it's got a slower pace. It's got like a Doom 2016 pace, which I really appreciate. It's a differential from Eternal, and it
looks like all three games might have their own kind of pace and identity.
100%. Yeah, I love it. I really like it. I like how it's slower and stuff. A lot of people will be like, well, that's a bit of a regression, but no, I kind of like it. Let Eternal be in its own little pocket as like the peak Doomslayer experience, in his evolution of character. And yeah, dude, this looks fucking fire. It's they slaying. And I can't wait to play this game, dude. This is gonna be day one buy for me. Have we got a release date? We don't, right? Like,
no, just 2025.
Oh, bro,
I'm guessing. I could be completely wrong, but I'm guessing it's quarter 1 or maybe quarter 2 because quarter 1 will be 4 years or 5 years since Doom Eternal. So I think it's gonna be early.
Yeah. So here's the thing: Doom Eternal released in March of 2020, and let's see when was Doom 2016? 2016 was May, so you could be right.
Also, Fable's coming out next year, and I don't think Fable goes before Doom. That's my opinion. I think Fable's fall. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be awesome.
This will be. Good, I'm watching the trailer right now. It looks so fucking good.
Yeah. See, and it doesn't even affect PlayStation owners that Microsoft acquired Bethesda and id because they're bringing it to PlayStation consoles anyways. But yeah, dude, this game looks fire. It looks amazing. Testosterone to the max. Day one, all in on this one. So
yeah.
Okay, I got a couple things to say about this one because it's shown up a few times past the Xbox showcase, so we'll be on this for just a little bit. Dragon Age: The Veilguard trailer reveals a better look at BioWare's next RPG. So Dragon Age, obviously third party, also on PlayStation, showed up at the Xbox showcase with, this is going to sound hyperbolic, but I am not joking. This, as far as taking a game that I was interested in and removing all of my interest, I have never seen a trailer represent 36 smashed assholes more than this trailer.
Holy shit, dude. Seriously, that's harsh.
It sucked all the wind, all of the interest out of this game, Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
The reveal trailer did?
The reveal trailer. I had zero interest. This reveal trailer, have you watched it, Joe?
I've watched it, and I watched like these kind of gameplay stuff.
It looks to paint it to you guys who either haven't seen it or you just want to know my opinion. This reveal trailer looked like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League meets League of Legends for your iPhone. That's what this trailer looked like to me. It did not look like Dragon Age. It did not look single player, and I know that it was Dragon Age. I know they were saying it was single player, but you gotta understand, it has been announced as Dragon Age Dreadwolf for years. And then right before the showcase, they're like, yo, it's actually called Dragon Age: The Veilguard to better represent it. And then they release a trailer that looks like a MOBA or a mobile, fantasy gacha game. And it's like, okay, this looks so bad, dude. This looks so bad.
Yeah.
So I literally thought, like, I was going to buy this day one, saw this trailer, and then thought, no way I'm buying it. No way I'm buying it.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I thought it was so awful. And then I was talking to Wesley in the Discord, and he's like, oh, well, the gameplay might be good. And I'm like, you know what? It might be.
Oh,
If the
yeah.
gameplay is good, I'll change my mind. I'll go back on it. This is just me in the moment based off the trailer. Well, gameplay came out today. Dude, Dragon Age, the Veilguard gameplay looks fire. Looks more of like Dragon Age Inquisition with a little bit more like action combat, a little bit less of the turn-based stuff.
Yeah, a little bit more like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like,
yeah, it's like a
I
mix.
take that one from Wes as well, like slash God of War. Just more hack and slash, honestly.
Yeah, and it looks, the presentation value looks awesome. The characters, everything about it, the gameplay looks really sharp, really cool. So I was just like, okay, I'm totally in. I'm wondering how they could have, and here's the reason I say this, because it's not just me being opinionated. This was a widespread issue on the internet. Everyone thought that trailer was awful. They're like, this does not look like Dragon Age. Okay. Yeah, it was all over the place. People were like, this looks bad. Well, the gameplay looks so good. This is a game I'm going to buy day one based off the gameplay. I'm totally in, totally sold on Dragon Age the Veilguard. Loved Inquisition.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they were thinking. I made a joke in the Discord, but I actually mean it. I'm like, did they hire like the League of Legends, like Riot
art
Games
style,
guy,
maybe? Yeah,
to do the mix of the trailer with the art style? Really painted it as a game that I would never want to play. But they completely sold me with the gameplay here. Let me read a couple snippets of info. Go ahead.
Can I ask? Once you saw the gameplay, did the same critique of the art style persist, or was it more that the gameplay just like wholly outweighed? Even like if that was still the case, did the gameplay just wholly outweigh that perception? Or did it all go by the wayside once you saw the gameplay?
I do think the gameplay outweighed the perception, but the thing is like the art style in the gameplay technically is still the same art style as the trailer, but the trailer looks different. Like it looks brighter and more like happy, whereas you watch the gameplay and I just don't feel like the art was represented well in the trailer. It looks good in the game.
You know what I think it is? I think it's like the neon like title cards that they have going on whenever they introduce character and stuff.
It also gave this Borderlands vibe. I'm like, that's not Dragon Age. I just really whoever they hired to do the trailer, it was the massive mistake. Now I don't know if it's actually going to matter, because now that they're doing the proper showcase with with Dragon Age proper and gameplay, it'll be fine. But like they screwed up. Don't do that again. That was bad. But more info shared by BioWare today. The player will have 6 factions to choose from during character creation. The 3 confirmed so far are the Grey Wardens, the Antivin Crows, Guild of Assassins, and the Shadow Dragons, an anti-slavery rebel organization from Teventir. Rook, the player character, is customizable and can be human, elf, dwarf, or Qunari. The Inquisitor, the player character from Dragon Age Inquisition, will apparently appear in the game, and the player will have the opportunity to customize their look before the game. So you can technically customize your Inquisitor so that it's the same one from your last game. We've seen that in prior Dragon Ages before. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
The player will also make a few key decisions during character creation that will change how the game starts. It's unclear if it's decisions from previous games or if it's referencing the choice of faction. There's a baby griffin in the game called Asan. A list of companions and their descriptors as per press release. There's Balara, a creative and romantic veil jumper obsessed with uncovering ancient secrets. I'm not going to read all of this. Davrin, a bold and charming Grey Warden. Emric, a necromancer of Navarra's Morn Watch. Harding, who is a Dwarven scout from Inquisition. I don't know if you remember her, Joe. She was like giving you all kinds of quests in the hinterlands.
What's her name again?
Harding. She's like a female dwarf from Inquisition.
Hang on, she's going to be it right now.
You and your companions.
Yeah, I remember her very faintly. Yeah.
Lucanus, a poised and pragmatic assassin who descends from the bloodline of the House of Crows. Neve, a cynic fighting for a better future, both as a private detective and a member of Teventir's rebellious Shadow Dragons. And finally, Tosh, a dragon hunter allied with the Lords of Fortune. So the game looks dope. We haven't had a new Dragon Age in 10 years. I feel like even though the trailer was awful in my opinion, today's gameplay showing and the details and the 2024 release date, they feel very confident with this. I would love to see BioWare have a hit again. Like I think most people are like, oh, BioWare hasn't been good since Mass Effect trilogy. But to be fair, Inquisition did win Game of the Year, but that was 10 years ago. Andromeda, completely fell off. Anthem fell off. I hope this is a win for them. Based on what I've seen, I'm very excited. This will be a day one purchase for me. I'm all in on this. I think Dragon Age, the Veilguard looks awesome. Actually, let me read a couple previews here I pulled up as well. I think just to get an idea for it. This is through Eurogamer. Throughout the demo, there was one very clear impression that BioWare really does seem to be back here, and not just back, but back with a renewed sense of confidence and faith in itself. For all of Veilguard's long and reportedly troubled development, and all the issues with Anthem and more, the first hour of it looks like those troubles never happened. It was simply an uninterrupted hour of one big, grand, thoroughly AAA video game. We'll read something from IGN here. When the Veilguard arrives later this fall, it doesn't yet have a firm release date, it will be more than a big moment for BioWare. It will be a huge moment for the fans. The Dragon Age fans I know, many of them women, are palpably excited to have this franchise back in their lives after waiting for so long. It's too early to say whether or not Dragon Age The Veilguard will live up to their expectations. All I know is that it's good to finally be back in Thedas after all these years. One more I'll read for you guys, and then we'll move on from the previews. This is from VGC. There was some understandable sour faces following Dragon Age's showing at the Xbox Game Showcase, but we're very happy to say that they were unfounded. Our demo was exciting and engaging and made us desperate to see the next 50 to 100 hours of this game. No Guardians of the Galaxy dialogue, no weird versions of pop classics, just a hulking BioWare RPG, something that's been sadly missing in gaming for too long. Few demos this weekend felt as confident, as complete, and as engaging. Bringing back Dragon Age was a gamble, but from what we've seen, it appears to have paid off massively. Reading all of this, hearing all the information, seeing the gameplay, Joe, are you anywhere near where I am as far as excitement, wanting to buy this? How are you feeling about Dragon Age The Veilguard?
Yeah, so my history with Dragon Age is kind of weird because I played Dragon Age 1 a decent amount, but I don't think I ever finished it. It was so long ago that I can't remember. I was rather young. And then I never played Dragon Age 2 because, like, I mean, there was probably all the games out at the time, and I just thought, like, whatever. And I kind of heard whisperings that, I mean, obviously, I wasn't as connected to, like, all the news and stuff back then when I was younger. So it was just kind of like, I hear this is kind of like shit or something from, like, word of mouth and from the YouTube videos or whatever at the time. But, yeah, and then Inquisition came out, and I played a good bunch of that. I don't think I ever completed it, as far as I'm aware. But again, it's so long ago since I played it and it was such. I got to be honest, and sorry to Wes for saying this because I know it's like kind of his baby in many ways, but it's just like over padded high fantasy crap to me.
Well,
from what
to
I
be
remember.
fair, Inquisition, if you play it the way that I think you play games, which is try to finish everything in the area, Dragon Age Inquisition is one of the worst over padded experiences of all
That's
time.
how I remember it.
But if you play it like I played it, which is like do a couple
Mainline,
quests and
yeah.
leave, I had a great time. So
yeah, but yeah, so like I kind of Inquisition kind of left a bad taste in my mouth just because it just felt like it wasn't much of significance. And here's the thing with Dragon Age, I was never 100% like in love with the world. I asked Wes this earlier in the Discord. I says like, what is it about Dragon Age that people love about the world so much? And to me, like, it's always just seemed like a high fantasy like romp through and through.
To me, it's kind of generic, and I love Dragon Age.
Yeah, and so, but he was like, it's the lore and stuff, and I was like, okay, well, that's fair enough. And I didn't dig anymore because I was driving at the time. But I was like, but like, I just don't get it. Like, I've never understood it. I've always been a Mass Effect person first because Mass Effect.
The writing's been really good, though. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, just like you'd expect from good peak Dragon Age is like peak Mass Effect writing. You know?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not like this is the thing. Like, this is all subjective. Like, I'm sure like Inquisition is a great game objectively, and I'm sure that like Dragon Age 2 even has like its good moments.
Dragon Age 2 is a pretty good game, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Not great, not great, but good.
Yeah. But one thing I will say, just becoming contemporaneous right now and looking at this gameplay, like it actually looks really fucking good, and it's surprising to me like that this game looks to have better hack and slash combat, considering it's not a hack and slash game, like hack and slash series like through and through, majoritively. It's crazy that this game has seemingly smoother animations and cleaner combat than Assassin's Creed Shadows does.
We'll talk about that soon enough.
Yeah, and that is wild to me because like they've had so many attempts at making that combat smooth, and it's still not quite as good as you've God of Wars and your Ghost of Tsushima's, especially. Obviously, that's the direct competitor to Shadows right now, but this looks really dope. The way you can like pull up the weapon wheel and use abilities, like as this rogue kind of character that you play as, this black dude. Obviously, it's based on your character, so that won't be for everyone. But yeah, dude, it looks dope. The way the dodging is, the fact that you can switch between ranged and melee on the fly, the graphics and the technical side of what they show here with the gameplay. I'm watching it right now. Looks immaculate. No frame rate drops. No graphics.
It looks like it's very smooth. Yeah.
It looks like so polished, and it's very rare we see like outside of Sony stuff, like you rarely see this level of polish. And even then, like things like Days Gone had trouble with like previews and stuff like that. So yeah, dude. And then like the previews back that up. The fact that they're saying this is like BioWare back in action is crazy.
It makes you wonder if, like, EA was like, okay, we're going to give you a little more time because this is your last chance, right? Because, like, if this game failed, they're done. BioWare's gone.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the thing. Like, this was originally Dreadwolf, right? That was the code name. That was the working development code name for it. That's
actually not even the code name. That's what they announced to be the official title of the game. They just changed their mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too big of a fan of putting the in the suffix, but that's just me.
Yeah. They said that the reason they did that was because Dreadwolf stood for the villains or the bad guys, and they wanted it to stand for the heroes, which was the Veilguard. So.
Okay. Yeah. Either way,
it doesn't roll off the tongue like Dreadwolf does.
You don't need this in your subtitles.
Yeah.
Change that.
Just Dragon Age Dragon Age Veilguard would be awesome.
Dragon Age Veilguard sounds better, but Dragon Age the Veilguard just is too much. But yeah, looks absolutely incredible in terms of like the gameplay and stuff. I don't know how obtuse it will be to get into, knowing I'm not like been following Dragon Age at all.
So I feel like it won't matter, but I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you can just jump into it because I have no, like, unlike a lot of series when this happens, I have no inclination to jumping into this like by playing other games previously, like the previous installments. I don't care. Just let me play this game. And I'll be happy.
What would it take for you to buy this game this year, Joe? Because I'm guessing this isn't a day one buy for you right now.
No, it's not a day one buy. It's just to keep an eye out. Like, this is just like, if this is like 9s, 10s out of 10s going forward, like across the board, like a must play title, that'll be all.
Looks like it's got the possibility. Yeah,
that'll be all it takes. Maybe like showing me some different classes of gameplay and stuff. Like, I'm in. It looks cool.
Cool. This one we'll just touch on real quick, Joe. Did you ever actually play Fallout 76?
Yeah, I played it at launch. It was trash.
Yeah, well, apparently it's good now, but we're not interested in playing it really. But because of the Fallout show being so big and ghouls being the new hot thing, new update coming to Fallout 76, they'll let you play as a ghoul in Fallout. So that's something. It's on PlayStation and Xbox.
What you looking at? Smooth skin.
Yeah, hey, that's pretty good.
That's
walking. Pretty good. Yeah, so maybe if I played that game, I'd play a ghoul, but you're not going to catch me dead in Fallout 76. Hey. So yeah, exactly. Moving on.
Cool for those.
Yeah. Okay. This one's Joe will have something to say. This is Joe's identity here. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater trailer sets up Konami's remake. So interestingly enough, we saw Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake of 3, first shown off at the PlayStation Showcase. Here we are a year later. It's at the Xbox Showcase. For some reason, things changed hands there with who's getting the marketing. But the article goes on to say, Konami has been quiet when it comes to revealing details on its Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. However, during the Xbox Game Showcase, we got to see a few new clips of gameplay that include important story beats from the game's opening moments, Snake using his iconic CQC techniques, and even a fight against a helicopter. Through more than a few major characters like the boss herself made their though more than a few major characters like the boss herself made their first appearances in the trailer, we were still left without a release date. So we were left without a release date, but it was quickly after this that GameStop said on their Twitter, where is it here? Coming November 17th, watch the trailer and pre-order now for Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. And then they were quickly backtracking, saying that was an accident, it wasn't true, and you'll have to ask Konami. So now they're saying it's not November 17th this year. So
yeah, right.
My opinion as someone who's never played Metal Gear is that this remake looks pretty solid. And even though I want to play the original first, this does look really cool and really awesome. It looks like a proper remake. I want to buy it. I mean, this game looks dope to me. And then as far as the release date goes, I am going to actually go with that wasn't actually the release date. The reason I say that is because I don't feel like this game's coming out this year. So I think, I don't know why GameStop said 11/17. Maybe it's true. Maybe they got something mixed up. I don't know. Joe, over to you. You're the resident Kojima fan. Are you feeling good about this remake? Will you be there day one? And when do you think it releases?
Oh, this is hard because it's like how long you got.
Right.
It's really weird because like this rollout of trailers have been like lacking in style when it comes to like if you go back and like watch old Metal Gear Solid trailers, marketing, same with Death Stranding now with Kojima. Kojima loves his cinema. He edits all of his own trailers together, which rarely happens with directors like ever in game design. Like you don't ever get like a Cory Barlog editing his trailer together, you know, for God of War. They leave that up to the divisions that need to do that, you know, the marketing team. But here's the thing, like, for a long time, it was just like, what's the marketing of this game? Like, when they showed it off last year, it was kind of like, what is this? Like, it looks good, like the graphics look cool, but it looks very unreal in the sense that it lacks the style of Snake Eater, and also it's kind of like more of a tech demo in terms of what they're showing right now, and it's a lot of just slow sneaking around and stuff like that, and grabbing the odd dude, and there's no voice acting. There's no like edited together audio. There's no voiceovers like this one had, and it just felt weird. And I was like, something's off about this. And then combine that with the fact that they are using mostly the old original voice acting tracks from the original game, because they don't want to basically spend money on, well, fucking hiring David Hayter and the rest of the team back
On anything, honestly.
on anything. It was weird to me. So it was like, there's something about this project that's very smoke and mirrors, and I don't believe it to be like very well designed as of right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some development trouble going on with it in many ways, especially considering, again, couple that with the Master Collection coming out and basically just being like glorified emulator ports. With a shit ton of bug problems that they're still patching to this day. It's still not like a consolidated release, because even the producer of Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta came out recently on one of their promo material, which has David Hayter walking you through it. And he's literally like, yeah, like, we're still patching it. Like, we're sorry that like this was the case. We're still working on it. We want Metal Gear to be great. We want Metal Gear to last forever. He was a producer on the original Portable Ops and stuff like that. So he's high up there and stuff, and he knows what he's doing. But, it's overall, it was just a very strange trailer and rollout originally. And then with this, it was like, okay, this is actually pretty fucking good. And I will stand here and hold my hands up and say I was kind of like wrong in terms of like this potentially being just smoke and mirrors bollocks and them just buying time to like gauge interest in the game, and potentially like putting out those trailers to get people to work on the game, as we all know that is what those announcement trailers are. But yeah, it looks really good. But even when I was watching it, I was like, yes, there's voiceover. Yes, there's like, Major Zero, talking over and stuff like that. And there's Snake and the boss and stuff. But there's no one actually moving their lips in this. It's all like cutscenes of like Snake walking around or jumping out of like the C-130, or doing a Halo jump, or like just taking people down in gameplay. There was no like, it was always like the boss was just walking to the camera. There was no conversation, and then it kind of got to the end where it was like commencing stealth operation or whatever he says. Like, dude, like, and then he was like, okay, then he starts to speak. Then it matches the lips to the voice, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong with that again, but like, my point with what I'm saying here is this rollout has been very strange, and it oozed a great lack of confidence for what this product was. Yes, it looked gorgeous. Yes, the technicalities were like, crossed their T's, dotted their I's, like on a massive level. But ultimately, it just felt like something was missing massively, and that was the style and the fact that it looked like it was a finished product. But looking at this trailer now, looks fire, dude. Looks really good.
I'm
Like,
glad to hear it from you.
I've got to admit, like, it looks very good. I don't know what improvements they're actually making from a gameplay standpoint, if any. I kind of wish this was like kind of a redesigned remake, in the sense of like by the likes of, a Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, because even though I think Metal Gear Solid 3 exists very well in what it is, and the Subsistence version is very good, which is like the re-release version with all the quality of life improvements and stuff, I do think that ultimately, like, there are things in it. It is not a 10 out of 10 video game, and I do genuinely think that, like, there are issues with like the cure system and stuff, where like you're constantly going in and out of menus to change camos and heal yourself and stuff, and it's a lot of busybody, like, well, menu navigation and scrolling and stuff. So, but aside from that, this game looks fucking good. Really good. Graphically
I'm
impressive.
excited, dude.
Combat looks awesome. Hopefully they've brought some mechanics from, I mean, probably not, but they hopefully they brought some mechanics from Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain / Ground Zeroes, because that was like the best Snake ever felt. So yeah, dude, I really do hope they nail it.
Dude, I'm excited because here we are on the Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast. We got our Metal Gear Solid artwork up of me and Joe.
Yep.
And here's what I hope can happen. I hope that I can play through Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, become a fan, and then conveniently the remake comes out and I jump right in. And I know that doesn't give me the full scope, but
so here's the thing. One thing I will say about Metal Gear Solid is, in my opinion, for Brian, knowing what kind of gamer you are, and you're not like you're not really a stealth gamer, right?
No.
Like I am. Like obviously, I revel in stealth. I love Splinter Cell. Like this is probably like top 3 favorite genres of all time for me. But honestly, like I think Metal Gear Solid is probably the best stealth genre to start in, because it allows you to play with the stealth more than say a Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell, it's like you got to stick to the shadows. You got to do this. You can't be detected. You can't be shot more than 5 times, etc., etc. You fail certain missions if you get detected. Metal Gear ain't like that.
It's good.
Yeah. There's certain parts where you have to stealth, but for the most part, it's fluid with it. And the best part about it is the game. There's part, dude. I'm not going to spoil it, but there are parts in Snake Eater. If you go around killing certain people and you start like, and you're knocking people out or evading people, and you're just slicing necks, shooting people, killing all the soldiers, that stuff, there's a part in the game where it comes back on you, and there's this like meta, and this is crazy for a game that came out on the PS2. There's this meta like narrative going on where it questions like your morality when it comes to how you approach your missions and stuff, and it's wild, dude. Like Snake Eater or Delta, Snake Eater Delta, whatever. I'm excited. This potentially is a good jumping off point for you getting into the series, but one thing I will say is that the narrative I don't think will hit as hard if you don't play them in release order. I really don't.
I want to play at least the original 3 and then play this. But this is pretty much, barring some heinous act, this is a day one for you pretty much no matter what, right? I would assume, Joe.
Yeah, this is 70-pound top whack. Joe's diving in. See my little legs sticking out of the Metal Gear crate. Like, if they don't fuck this up, I will support them, because I've been saying this for a while with Konami. Just make video games, dude. Make some cool video games. Like, I don't even need like new Metal. This is the thing. I don't want new Metal Gear games in the timeline. Just remake the shit you've done. Make them like future proofed and stuff, because this is the problem with Metal Gear. It's kind of locked on like the PS3 and the PS2 and stuff, and obviously the Master Collection have kind of remedied that. But like, imagine if we had all of these remade, like all the way through Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 1. Imagine if like they got through all the way to like Metal Gear Solid 4, they remade all these games, and then imagine this: they went back in time and did Metal Gear 1 and 2, which were 8-bit MSX2 games, and they put that in the Unreal Engine and redid those. Or how about this? They're starting from a timeline perspective here. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, which is the remake here. This is the first in the timeline of Metal Gear. There's nothing before it. They do Metal Gear Solid 3. They go through all of it, and then they get to Metal Gear, which is before Metal Gear Solid in the timeline, in the story. They could do that. You could see you could see a Metal Gear 1 and 2 remake before a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. That is crazy. I don't think they will do it, but
that's high ambitions for something owned by Konami, but man, does it sound cool.
We're here. We are waiting.
Dude, it's even cooler. Like, it's even cooler reading about like seeing this trailer for Metal Gear and getting it hyped for the remake and being like, yeah, we got that. We got the artwork on lock. It feels like
artwork, baby.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, I'm going to be day one with this. Most likely, and it'll be awesome to experience it as something new alongside Joe, or Joe's just probably geeking out because it's like his history.
My childhood.
We're just going to jump right over to the Ubisoft show, Joe. That's most of what we cared about from the Xbox showcase that'll be on PlayStation. There was also like the Diablo 4 expansion that's coming out, but I know neither Joe or I plays that, but that's coming out in the next few months on PlayStation as well.
Yep.
But yeah, moving over to the Ubisoft Forward, basically 2 major things to touch on here: Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. So starting from the top of this IGN article here, Ubisoft kicked off the show with the new gameplay from Star Wars Outlaws, showcasing gameplay across multiple systems in the galaxy. We got a great look at Outlaws' infamous hive of scum and villainy, which will feature corrupt officials and merchants to interact with. We also saw space combat as Kay got into an optional dogfight that helped improve her standing with the Pike Syndicate. From there, the gameplay went to Tatooine, where we saw Mos Eisley Cantina, Kay traversing the desert on her speeder, and an infiltration mission where Kay tracked down the old gunslinger who could teach her a valuable skill. Check out our Star Wars Outlaws preview to learn about the game and how it fulfills the galactic scoundrel fantasy. So I did watch the gameplay for this, Joe, and
I checked it out. I'm checking it out again now.
Okay, and I'm going to share my opinion on that and then kind of read a couple previews and then go over to you. This is where I'm at with Star Wars Outlaws, and I also take it back to the Avatar Mists of Pandora. Was that what it was? Mists of Pandora or last
Frontiers.
year?
Frontiers.
Frontiers. I keep getting mixed up with the World of Warcraft Mists of Pandora.
Yeah.
But so the Avatar game last year, it seemingly came out and was a very, very solid game that paid a lot of respect to the Avatar universe, both in its story and its aesthetics. And anybody who was an Avatar fan who played it last year pretty much loved it. It kind of got like 8s across the board, but no one really talked about it. Now, Star Wars is a different beast. Because it's Star Wars, it's going to have a lot more conversation around it. It's going to be popping up in the news and everything like that. But I kind of get the same vibes here, where I feel like Star Wars Outlaws, it's pitched as this big first open world Star Wars game. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be solid. I think people are going to like it. I think for some people, probably people who are very big Star Wars fans, this may be game of the year material for them. But what I get from this is it's a solid game through and through. It's probably going to ride that 8 out of 10 kind of area of quality. And I doubt it's going to do much to really light a fire under anyone. I think it'll be good, but I do just see it being as kind of more of the Ubisoft, kind of game design, but set in Star Wars. But I don't get any bad vibes from it. But that's what I thought was interesting. If I go over here to some of the previews, this comes from Eurogamer, kind of scathing how it starts off. After a worryingly dated hands-on with Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft's galactic open world feels less exciting than expected. Having played Star Wars Outlaws for a good hour or so ahead of the Ubisoft Forward show, however, I've come away with a renewed appreciation for Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. In fact, no, a bit more than that. In comparison to Outlaws' admittedly early work-in-progress demo, they stand as singular pieces of revolutionary high art. Outlaws' early gameplay feels positively ancient, not only mechanically but in execution, and its near total lack of character, flair, invention, detail, or style. In trying to describe it, the closest comparison I can draw is the Uncharted Golden Abyss game for the Vita in 2011. So really, really bad from Eurogamer, but going down, there's some other previews that are a little more positive. Finally, a galaxy full of scum and villainy from TechRaptor.net. The gunplay is strategic and more deliberate. Outlaws certainly isn't about running and gunning. Your regular plasma shots are good against the normal fodder, but you'll want to switch to ion shots to take out shields and droids. Then you can stun folks to instantly take them out, albeit with a cooldown. K's trusty blaster doesn't have ammo, but you have a certain amount of shots before it overheats. If you time it right, you can get an instant reload, but in the thick of battle, it's not an easy thing to consistently do. Lurking around every corner of Outlaws are various gangs in power. Kay's reputation with one or another will affect how people react to her and will, of course, change how those factions treat her. Keeping a balance, or if you choose to really hate one of the gangs, is an ever-present part of the decision-making in Outlaws. One more last bit here. This comes from Shack News. Outlaws feels like the Star Wars Uncharted we never got. A decade ago, the world was buzzing about a behind-the-scenes closed door for the E3 demo of Star Wars 1313. The game was pitched as Star Wars Uncharted. It was all anyone could talk about at that year's show. Anyone familiar with Star Wars 1313 will know exactly how that story ended. Now, a decade on, and a console generation or two later, Star Wars Outlaws is the third-person action-adventure shooter that instantly gave us echoes of that long-lost demo. The key for us is the scale of the game. While the gunplay and the characters are enjoyable, we suspect that stretched across a 40-hour Ubisoft epic, it will become rather thin on top. However, condense it down into a 20-hour package, and you've got a Star Wars Uncharted-like that we are extremely keen to play more of as soon as the demo ended. So to me, it sounds like, once again, very familiar Ubisoft tropes, familiar trappings. Anything that's different, it just feels like familiar trappings of a different series, like Uncharted. And then there's a lot of kind of underseated tones of like, maybe this is a bit of, a butter spread over too much bread type of deal where, I don't know. I think because of it being Star Wars and open world and the fact that it does seem like it's probably a good game at its core, I think it's going to do just fine. I think it's going to sell just fine. But these aren't the kind of previews that I would want for somebody looking at this being their game of the year type of title. The TLDR seems like more Ubisoft flair, but in a Star Wars universe. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I do not see any scenario where I buy this. It's possible if I'm bored and it gets good reviews, but I really doubt it. I'm not interested. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, I can see the criticisms with it. I don't. This is the thing. I'm watching the trailer literally right now. People on video will be able to see it in the mirror behind me on my screen. But like, in all honesty, like this looks fine. It looks enjoyable. It looks like a good time. The thing with it is like, I think we're at a point, just like with Suicide Squad, with the whole principled gamer, the amount of principled gamers out there. I think we're at a point now with Ubisoft where people are just sick to death of like seeing a Ubisoft formula uh, in the in any other like sort of genre or series in many ways. I mean, obviously we just got off Horizon and stuff, and that's sort of juxtaposing that point entirely. And but ultimately, like my point with it is like Ubisoft make the most Ubisoft games, of course, and obviously Horizon's a bit different, but not to go on Horizon too much. But the thing with this is like I don't see it like doing gangbusters just because it is very much like Uncharted. It is like too much butter on too little butter on not enough toast. And it has like elements of like different things. Like it's got starfighting here, which looks actually really bloody cool and stuff. And then it obviously has like your ground combat, which is like your main focal point and stuff, and wandering through things. But my issue with this is if it doesn't do well, my issue with Star Wars is, and I've told this to Darren recently, is if this game doesn't do well, I wonder how much developers are going to look at this and go, it didn't do well because it doesn't have lightsabers in it. It didn't do well because it
That's the
doesn't
wrong reason.
because it hasn't done well because not only is it not got lightsabers on it, but it's not fucking bringing in Darth Vader again, or it's not doing Order 66 again, which is like the
But
most
it does
common
see
thing.
that they're definitely aping the films here with like Jabba the Hutt and
Yes,
Tatooine and the
100%.
cantina,
Yeah. And like to me, it's like I kind of like it because it's more original trilogy, right? Is that when it's set? It looks original trilogy.
I think it's between the prequels and the original. No, that can't be right. I think it's original trilogy and sequel trilogy.
Well, anyway,
no, I have no idea, dude.
Yeah, it has the architecture around that time, I feel like, and it looks like it's taken that thematic representation.
It's right around the original trilogy. I just can't remember if it's right before or right after.
Right after, yeah. And I just think, like, it's weird because on the one hand, I'm bored of Order 66, but I'm also bloody bored of the original trilogy in many ways as well. But also,
I don't want... Just bored of Star Wars, maybe.
Maybe I'm just bored of Star Wars, but, like, maybe go back to KOTOR times to do this kind of shit, like, or do like sequels. I'd like to actually see like that sequel era expanded in mainline entries, like not just in the not just in canon books and comics and stuff. Like I'd love to see that world, that side of Star Wars get its own little representation. And I feel like if this is set after the original trilogy, hopefully that can kind of bring the sequel side of things into it a bit more, maybe, and like allow people to love on that side of Star Wars a little bit more, including myself. But because that era is shrouded in apathy, you know what I mean, like massively now, including from myself. So I'm willing to have my mind changed with that. But yeah, it looks very run of the mill Uncharted come Ubisoft formula. But in all honesty, I don't think it looks bad. It doesn't look phenomenal. It doesn't look like something I will pick up day one. But I will say it looks like it's a polished title, and hopefully it's good. Like
the main character's not grabbing me, and for the record, if anyone thinks this, I mean, I love playing as female characters, so it's not because she's female.
You a woman hater, Brian?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Like I love that. Yeah. I mean, I love plenty of female characters, but I might like this one as well. But she just, I don't know, they haven't shown anything about her that makes her particularly interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, Cal Kestis, I don't find particularly that interesting either. He got better in Survivor, but like it's not like he was anything spectacular. So
yeah, I'm still waiting for that one. But yeah, we can move on. Star Wars Outlaws. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I just hope it does well because Motive are all good. I think Motive are a great studio. So
yeah. Okay, so this is our last major news piece here before we move into what we're playing. The other big game shown at the Ubisoft Forward was Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I think I have what ultimately will be an opinion that's like very common about this, but I did watch the gameplay, and I'll go ahead and read the snippet a bit, and we'll talk about it a bit here after this. We got a big look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, showing off the nature of the game's dual protagonist structure. In one instance, players were able to choose to play as Yasuke. How do you? I want to say it wrong. Yusuke or Neo. Is how you say that one? I'm not sure about that either.
Neo.
To tackle a mission in one of two ways. The samurai Yasuke wanted to rush through the front gates, while the shinobi Neo wanted to sneak along the rooftops. The gameplay footage showed us Neo's path as she snuck around castle grounds after nightfall. So that's kind of the snippet there. And then I was reading ahead a bit here from another article from IGN. It says how Assassin's Creed Shadows blends new and classic ideas with dual protagonists. 16th century Japan is ripe with fascinating historical context for Assassin's Creed game to thrive, which is one aspect that makes the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows so exciting. The way the series bends history for its fiction has me hyped to see its version of feudal Japan, but it's also a setting that lends itself well to the kind of combat options that have been encompassed by the entire franchise. In a hands-off preview demo of Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was able to see roughly 30 minutes of gameplay that showcased both Neo and Yasuke, the two protagonists, and their combat styles in action. They represent both worlds of the series' combat. Neo, a stealthy shinobi wielding the iconic hidden blade, and Yasuke, a force of nature with pure power and masterful swordsmanship. At the start of the demo, I saw Yasuke pulling up to a town where everyday people were squeezing out of an existence under the boot of corrupt shogunate that enforces a caste system. It's a common dynamic and story set in this era of Japan, but it's also ripe for Yasuke to do right by the people who revere him. He has a commanding, respected presence, and the first combat encounter was against a group of samurai who were harassing a villager that shows off Yasuke's swordsmanship. The challenge is to dodge or counter enemy attacks, indicated by blue and red glints on their blade in traditional melee combat. So rather than continue reading about Neo, because I watched the gameplay, I read some of this already. Yeah. If you choose to play as Neo, it's basically the Assassin's Creed gameplay that you know, where you're on rooftops, you're coming up, stealth killing people, and where Yasuke is more of like a brunt force kind of warrior, and you get to choose who you want to play as. And honestly, watching the gameplay for this, I thought that obviously the setting's amazing. I think both protagonists are very cool. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I've spoke earlier about how like I don't really buy Ubisoft games. I don't really play Assassin's Creed games. I never really have been interested in them. But I probably am buying Assassin's Creed Shadows this year because...
Oh, boy!
Oh, no, not because of me, though. Because Erica is very interested. My wife, Erica, is very
I got me excited then. I thought, oh, no. Brian's in.
Well, here's the thing. I'm probably going to buy it for her.
Okay.
And I'll inevitably watch her play it. And if I'm like, oh, shit, that looks really cool, I think I might like that, then I will play it because I already own it. But I think I'm going to buy it because Erica's like, oh, my gosh, like I love that setting.
Yeah.
There's a samurai who's black that's actually from history. And then you also can play as this like Asian woman, Neo, and she's like an assassin. Really cool premise. I thought this looked really awesome. When I watched the gameplay, these are my thoughts. I'm thinking that you'll probably agree, Joe. To me, it looks like another high-quality Assassin's Creed in the vein of an Odyssey or a Valhalla. And that's the pro and the con, right? Is that it's a good game that will probably be worth the purchase and a lot of fun to play. But it does seem to me to be very much falling into the same camp as those prior titles, not particularly being that different other than the dual protagonists. I think this looks great. Probably the most interesting Assassin's Creed I've seen in a long time. It probably will be in my household this year. What are your thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows, Joe?
So just from the gameplay alone, I would actually disagree with your assessment.
Okay, I don't know. I don't play these games. So tell me how I'm wrong.
So what I will say is this is the most excited I have been for Assassin's Creed since Unity.
I like that. Oh, I like it a lot.
I like that. Give me some of that butter. It looks fire. This is the craziest thing. I will probably never play Yasuke. I will, if I have to, I will.
Okay.
I'm all Neo. Neo.
Just because you want to be because you like stealth.
I want to be sneaky boy. I want to get in there. I want to stick to the shadows. It's got a shadow light meter that's baked into the dynamic lighting. You know what that reminds me of, Brian?
So remind you of Metal Gear?
Splinter Cell.
Oh, I just had to guess. Yeah.
It was a good guess, but fuck me, I'm so hyped for that because that for me was the next generation of like the next step in which Assassin's Creed needed to go to. It needed to take elements of dynamic in-engine baked lighting into the mechanics so you can dive in and out of shadows, cut off lights, and this is what you can do in Shadows as Neo, and I am so excited for this. Not only that, is the fucking parkour looks really fucking cool. You've got like rope darts that you can throw up, pull yourself up, and do backflips and shit. Like I am all in on this. You can put like a rope dart
for Joe.
This is potentially day one. You can put like a fucking rope dart, like you have a weapon that's like a rope dart thing or a rope shuriken or something, and you're spinning it around, you're chopping bamboo leaves down while you're attacking like 5 other people at the same time. You can go underwater, you can assassinate people. Throw away Yasuke. I don't care about him. Like he can stay and go to Tsushima land.
Is it because it's not assassin gameplay? Is that why?
Yeah,
what's the main reason?
Okay. I don't give a shit. Like I genuinely don't give a shit. Give me Neo. Throw away Yasuke. He can be in my cutscenes. I don't care, but he's not going to be in my gameplay. This is a mechanic. This dual protagonist thing was in Syndicate. It was the first time shown in Syndicate back in the day in the London set Assassin's Creed. And for the most part, most people stuck to one protagonist because like people have their playthroughs. Most people played as Evie, as far as I'm aware, which was the more stealth orientated of the two. But yeah, dude, this looks fucking fire. I can't wait to like just blend into the shadows, move around. And what's crazy about it is I was really worried because I remember when Mirage came out and was announced, and at the same time this was announced, and it was like, yeah, we're doing Mirage, and Mirage is a like true to form, taking inspiration from old Assassin's Creeds, and basically there's going to be no RPG elements, barely any RPG elements, and it's going to be very like tight knit, tight performance, tight gameplay. And I was like, cool, that's great. But what about Assassin's Creed? It was called Red at the time, right? I think that was the code name, Assassin's Creed Red. And then it was like, oh well, this is going to be an RPG, and I was like, no, like you take the one genre people have been asking for ever since before Ghost of Tsushima was even announced. You take not the one genre, the one setting that people have been asking for, which is feudal Japan, Sengoku Japan, etc., etc., and you literally you make it an RPG that is probably more like there's more emphasis on combat than anything else, and building characters out and level gating areas off and stuff. And while that may still be the case with this game, bro, what I saw here was the complete antithesis to that. It looks like Ubisoft have learned that like people actually just want to walk around and stealth things and kill things, and they're giving you the option. And as long as you give me the option with some cool new mechanics that pertain to what Assassin's Creed should be and hopefully will be in the future, I'm game. This looks badass. I'm interested in it. Fuck all that controversy with the Black Samurai. I don't care. Let me play it. Give me the game.
I think it's going to be hilarious when you play the whole game as Neo, and then at the very final boss, it's like you have to fight the boss as Yusuke with just brute force.
I'll jump off a cliff.
That's hilarious.
Dude, this gets me pumped, dude. Like,
that's awesome.
Like I said earlier in relation to Dragon Age, the combat in terms of the fighting still looks janky. It looks better than what Valhalla, Odyssey, and Origins had, in all honesty. Because I don't like it's a small nitpick, and I got over it with Origins, but if anyone watches gameplay of these games, you kind of, when you hit people, it kind of like jolts. It's weird.
I've noticed.
It's really weird. And when you get hit, you jolt, and it just doesn't feel smooth. It's always been like a B tier hack and slash combat system to me when it comes to these new Assassin's Creeds, and they've never quite got it right. And they're getting close to making it smooth. But then you go and look at like Phantom Blade Zero, or you go and look at, again, like God of War, or even the old Ninja Gaiden games, and it's like, really, this is what you have in 2024? You have this kind of combat? It doesn't feel smooth, doesn't feel consolidated. So yeah, I'll be Neo all the time, baby. Get me in those windows, let me shuriken things, let me stick to the shadows. I can't wait for this.
I love it, Joe. Okay, so for the year of 2024, if you had to bet money right now, how many games you're going to buy before the year is over? How many games do you think it'll be, and what games are they? I know you've expressed interest in, let's see, Dragon Age and Assassin's Creed, Astrobot, Concord.
Assassin's Creed. Concord, potentially.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
Dragon Age, yeah.
I don't know if Dragon Age, I don't know. I'm waiting on Dragon Age, so that's not definite right now.
So the only definite for you got Assassin's Creed and Astrobot, or your two definites, maybe?
Astrobot, Concord, I think, again, based on beta.
If the beta's good,
let me think.
Honestly, I think there's any other big titles, yeah.
What's if Snake Eater is this year?
If that came out this year, yeah, that's definite. Yeah,
that's definite. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
But like that is down to the wire, because I just know Konami's gonna pull some bullshit. I just have a feeling.
What if it's 7s across the board? Then do you buy it?
I don't know. I don't know. But
it's not bad, but it ain't good. Yeah.
So I guess definitively Assassin's Creed Shadows and Astrobot. And if it's not, honestly, I don't even know if. Like, I'd like to say I would play Assassin's Creed Shadows, but honestly, I'm at a point where like it's going to be such a big game, and it's coming out around that fall period. So I'm kind of just like, I don't know if I'll have time. Like, I want to buy it, but I don't know if I have the schedule. And then Astrobots are kind of around that time, right? Like, it's around that fall period. So it's like, Astrobot's definite. Like, one. Astrobot. Fuck it.
See, that's what's funny is, like, you know, me and Joe are in my other Discord, which is my other podcast, where it's, you know, it's not PlayStation centric, and the Xbox showcase was so killer that I just to be funny, I went in there and I was like, but what about Astrobot? Because it's like Astrobot was like the big takeaway from
Yeah.
Sony State of Play. But
That was the only
Joe,
one. Yeah.
let's
That was the only one.
no, I'm stoked for Astrobot, dude. Day one for Astrobot for sure. But let's move into what we're playing, and then
Hey, I
I
didn't ask you. What about you? What's your day one?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna buy. Okay, so I'm buying Astrobot. I plan to buy Concord prior, as long as the beta goes well.
Yeah.
Like connection issues and stuff, I can get over. What I mean by go well is like it's
You
fun
like
to
it.
play.
You like it, yeah.
Fun game to play. So Concord, Astrobot. I'm blanking here. I'm gonna buy Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I guess I'm gonna buy Assassin's Creed because for my wife, but I mean, I might play it, if I like it.
Yeah.
So and then Metal Gear, if it comes out, is for sure. So if that Metal Gear came out for sure, that puts me at 5 titles for the rest of the year so far. We don't know what's coming from Nintendo. There's obviously a couple Xbox games I would buy as well, but why talk about them here? Am I right? No, I'm just kidding.
Leave that to the other podcast.
Yeah, it does sound like, I mean, dude, that's kind of sickening. I think I might buy somewhere between 7 and 10 games the rest of this year.
Bro, the fucking juxtaposition between me and you is crazy,
yeah, dude, and
bro.
I don't think I have any more time to play them than you. So what am I doing?
You don't. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I've already bought. See, this year I bought Stellar Blade. I bought Rebirth. So I've only bought 2 games this year.
You bought Automata as well, but
I bought. If we go out of not new releases, I bought Automata as well. But okay. So going into like what we're playing. I just rolled credits for the first time on your Automata yesterday. Dude, I had a great time. Very awesome. I think this game is more special than Stellar Blade. And once again, for those of you that don't know, the reason I keep comparing it to Stellar Blade is basically Nier Automata aped Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then Stellar Blade aped Nier Automata. So they all kind of flow into each other. Nier Automata, it's got better writing, better story, better characters than Stellar Blade. It's got worse combat, worse graphics, comparable music. They both have God tier soundtracks. I think the level design is better in Stellar Blade, but you got to understand too. This is like I'm talking about the game that is based off of Automata 7 years later. So the fact that Automata is still going toe to toe in many ways is a big deal 7 years later. And before, I'm sure there's somebody out there shouting right now. I haven't got to it yet. Hasn't said it yet. Is I just beat the first playthrough of Nier Automata, and I got 2 more to do after this to get the complete story. Now I'm going to DC. I'm going out of town to DC tomorrow, and then I got to record from other podcasts on Saturday. So maybe I'll start the second playthrough later Saturday. Busy guy. It's rough. But I do plan to play through all 3 of those. I think right now, if I were to put down Nier Automata and at just the 1 playthrough, which I think every fan would say you're ruining it, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 right now based on 1 playthrough. And I'm pretty positive, I could be wrong, that once I play through the other 2, that's going to easily bump it to that 9. And I have Stellar Blade at an 8. So I'm guessing Nier Automata for me is a game I'll end up liking more than Stellar Blade. I think right now the 2 of them feel, with only 1 playthrough of Nier Automata, the 2 of them feel kind of similar. Yeah. But they're also very different. I don't want to boil it down like that, because I was saying in the Discord, like, Nier Automata reminds me of Shadow of the Colossus meets like Zelda Twilight Princess. It's very like mid 2000s, it's like very open world, it's like bland open world, but not in a way that's negative. I know bland sounds negative, but like most of the open world doesn't have a lot going on except for some enemies here and there, and like a scattered item or 2. But it feels very like mid 2000s open world. It's got invisible walls like mid 2000s open world. It's got giant creatures like you'd see in Shadow of the Colossus. Yep. And to a lesser extent, Twilight Princess. But I loved it. I felt like I was playing a game that was 2 generations old. And I mean that as a compliment, because it just felt awesome to go back to that game design. It had combat that was awesome and fun that wasn't aping Souls, which is like Stellar Blade. To be fair, Stellar Blade plays a lot different than Souls, but when you start playing Stellar Blade, it's very obvious their influence from Souls. And to play Nier Automata and just be like, okay, this is a completely original thing. This is Platinum Games. This isn't Souls inspired. I've absolutely loved it. I love 2B. I love 9S. I love the quirky weirdness of the world. It's so strange to me. Like, Nier Automata is such a freaking strange world. I do want to beat these next 2 playthroughs, and then I want to buy Nier Replicant because I want to play that. Have you played that? Joe?
I haven't. No, I've never played a Replicant.
Yeah, I really want to play Nier Replicant because it's like this awesome, like 1.5, like almost borderline remake of Nier.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know the story? Do you know the story of the difference between the American Nier and the overseas Nier?
Of Replicant?
Well, Replicant. So in Japan, the first Nier in 2010 was called Nier Replicant.
Yeah.
And you played as a boy, and you were trying to save your sister.
Yeah.
In America, it was Nier Gestalt, and you were a dad trying to save your daughter. It's the same story and the same girl, but you're a brother in the Japanese one, and you're a dad in the American one, because they did studies that said that Americans responded better to playing as a dad than a brother. And so they released Nier Replicant, which is like it's like a 1.5 remake, where it canonizes the Nier Replicant, the version from Japan where you play as the brother. So I want to play that. It's still $60 on PlayStation, which is crazy.
Evergreen.
$60. Yeah, but I'll wait for a sale on that. But I want to play. But I love Nier Automata.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I think it's awesome. It's definitely in my top 100 games now. I don't know if I'll crack top 50. Top 50 is hard to crack, but like top 100, loved it. Definitely recommend it. Looking forward to playing it. Biggest frustration with Nier Automata, I got to like second or third to last boss. And
which one's that? Remind me.
It's like a big sphere that's electrical, kind of.
That's
and
not
it's
the one
water.
with multiple spheres, is it? Or is it?
I don't. It's hard to say. It's outside of the resistance camp. It's a big ball that's got legs.
Oh,
and
I'm looking at it here. Soshi.
That might be it. But the thing is, it gets you to this point of the game, and it hard locks you there. There's nowhere. You can't leave the area. You can't buy potions. All you can do is save and sit there. And I had no potions, or they're not called potions in the game, but no healing, whatever it is, or recovery items.
Yep.
I had nothing to heal with. The boss had a lot of phases, did a lot of damage. And I was stuck there for a while, and I was really frustrated because I think it was an oversight by the developers, because there was no way to just do anything. Yep. But then to top it off, once I managed to get through it and get past it and fight the boss and beat the boss, the PlayStation 5 kept crashing.
Wow.
It literally crashed 5 times before I beat that boss. I had to redo the boss battle over and over and over, and it was really killing my experience.
Oh, yeah.
Not the game's fault, but it sucked. But other than the crashes, other than the like no ability to purchase healing stuff in that area, love the game. It was great. I love the vibes. It's so interesting the way it completely just, it never like, I almost said it shifts genres, but kind of not really. Like sometimes you are like flying in a ship and shooting like an asteroid game.
Sometimes it's like what Messenger does. You know, the Messenger game?
I haven't played it.
Well, it's like that will shift through like various eras of like platforming and stuff, and it becomes like a roguelike and stuff, and goes between like Metroidvania, etc., etc.
It goes side scrolling and like it was so cool, dude. There was this one section where you're fighting this boss, and the boss hacks into you, and it just pauses the screen, and it brings up a mini game you got to play in the moment to get out of the hack, and it's like it was dope, dude. So it was a phenomenal game. Like I said, 8 out of 10 right now, but probably gonna go up to a 9 out of 10 once I play the other 2 playthroughs.
Nice.
Loved it. Definitely recommend it. Joe, what have you been playing this week?
This week, I've solely been playing The Last of Us Part 1. And obviously, I spoke about it last episode, and I was saying how this game really doesn't justify a remake. And while I still stand by that in many ways, like as a massive fan of The Last of Us, one of my favorite pieces of media ever, not just pieces of gaming history, but pieces of media and art, it's phenomenal. And even though I said that, I can kind of see it more in many ways why this needs a remake, in the sense that, like, just alone from I've just like, full spoilers here. I mean, you've had 11 years.
Yeah,
I've gotten to the point where Ellie hacks David's face off with a machete just before he was about to rape her, and it's like, oh my fucking god, that scene is mind-blowingly good on the remake, because there was always a level, even on the remaster, where, like, yes, it was The Last of Us, and it was easily able to pull emotions out of you that you've never felt before in your life, depending on the individual. It always felt like it was locked behind that 7th gen architecture in many ways, and it never, like, could accurately portray a lot of the emotion like the faces couldn't keep with the tone of the scene in many ways. Like they could,
Mhm.
like, it was good enough, but it just wasn't excelling. It wasn't on the level.
You
You
had
know,
to
like
fill it in a bit with your own brain.
in many ways, yeah. But with The Last of Us Part 1, dude, like, there's a scene in The Last of Us where, before what I've just said with David, there's a scene where Ellie runs off because she's sick of, like, feeling like she's nothing but cargo, and no one's looking out for her well wishers, and no one cares for what she thinks and stuff. And she runs away, and she gets in this, like, this old farmhouse, essentially, and she's just sitting reading a book, and Joel's panicking and stuff because he has a job to take care of her and stuff and get her across country. And he goes up, and he says, "Right, come on, we're going." Basically, very dad, very, like, just closed off and stuff, very like just very cold and stuff to her. And she's like, "You know what? No. If I say no, like, if I say no, um." And Joel goes, "Do you even realize what your life means?" Because she's obviously she's potentially the cure to what this post-apocalypse is. Um, and she just reveals, not to go through the scene one by one, but she, like, note by note, but she essentially reveals, like, her big fear, and her fear is ending up alone because everyone who has been with her has either died or left her. And Joel has, like, lost his daughter previously, 10 years ago or whatever, before, like, when the outbreak happened. And Ellie is, like, there, and she knows about Sarah, his daughter, dying, and she goes, "I'm not her," and Joel just, like, goes, "Ellie, you're walking on some mighty thin ice here."
Yeah.
And the inflection and the facial capture is fucking immaculate. And
Peak.
it's literal peak. It's on the level of, like, obviously it's been released after, or yeah, after Ragnarok, or around the time of Ragnarok, but it's on the level of games with Ragnarok. And the fact that they were able to bring this up, and like, there's a part in it where you can see when it pans back to Ellie talking about how she's afraid and stuff, you can see, like, how, like, the tears and the welling up and the emotion. And I've never, like, I remember, like, I played this game like 4 times. I've always, like, been upset by it and had, like, a ball in my throat when I've experienced that scene every single time, because it's such a crucial moment in the narrative and it's so raw. But I've never welled up. And this was the point when I truly welled up, seeing Ellie and Joel just, like, completely get on the level. And then it's the same with the David scene when David, like, gets killed, and Ellie's, like, just completely in a state of shock and trauma, and Joel's there, like, "Oh, baby girl, it's okay, baby girl, it's me." Oh my fucking god, is it good? Like, this the facial capture on Ellie alone is just unreal. Like, seriously. And I've just gotten past that point. I've gotten to the point when you're at the bus depot. You're almost to the point of you're almost at the point when you're at the Fireflies lab at the end. And dude, this game is genuinely one of the most phenomenal narratives I've ever experienced, period. Like, it has the perfect pacing. It never feels overly doctored. It never feels like it misses anything out. It has the perfect amount of gameplay, like combat to narrative moments and cutscenes. And the gameplay just feels so solid. I mean, like, just little things like playing as Joel compared to Ellie, where the weight feels different, and Ellie's more nimble, but she's more weak, obviously, and Joel feels more like you can just push over a bus if you felt like it, depending on how angry he is. And then also just little things like, obviously this was in the remaster, but you pull out your collectibles, and your companion at the time, obviously Ellie, she'll talk to you about the collectible, or Ellie on her own will talk about, like, Riley's dog tag, a Firefly tag, and she says she misses her and stuff like that. Like, it just has so many points of detail that I'm just like, holy shit, this game is good. And I'm going through it currently, trying to get the platinum. And as I'm going through to get the platinum, it means you've got to get all the collectibles. I've never 100% got all the collectibles before in the game, on the remaster or the original. And just seeing more of that insight of all the characters' mind share and the things they're feeling, and just spending more time in the world, just kind of jogging around and enjoying Ellie's jokes and Joel's, like, sort of closed off nature, to then obviously him becoming, a father figure, a father to Ellie in many ways. It's mind blowing, and I can't wait. I'm gonna finish it tonight, but I cannot wait to get to the ending when you are carrying Ellie in your arms and that music is playing, and he's just, like, pushing to get her out of there. And like, oh, it's such a phenomenal experience. And, like, there's nothing more to report on whether, like, the remake is more worth it or not. I think it just depends on whether you want the definitive experience.
Yeah, see, this is my stance. I think emphatically, if the question of did we need a Last of Us remake,
Yeah,
I think emphatically the answer is no.
yeah,
But my 2 points for the remake is, one, once you play it and experience it and see what they've done,
yeah,
is it worth the price? In my opinion, yes. I
yeah,
feel like it's
definitely.
there. And then two, there are plenty of games that deserve revisiting and deserve preservation and deserve to be shown in a better light because they're so special. But Last of Us is absolutely one of those. Like, if
Yeah.
you're going to have a game receive better facial animations and take the peak height of emotions in it's some of its best moments and bring them to an even higher level with the
Yeah.
fidelity they're able to afford here and with the proper motion capture, because they use the same motion capture
Yeah.
from original, but they've done it better now with fidelity. It's like, this game deserves it. It deserves to have it. So I think it's a question of, like, we can put that to rest. Like, did it need a remake? No, of course it didn't need one. But, like,
Yeah.
is the remake worth it? Is it amazing that this game got it? I think the answer is yes. So
Yeah, dude, it's a phenomenal title, and I think that it's interesting because I was looking at I watched the show when it came out, when obviously this part 1 came out alongside it.
Yeah.
I watched the show, and every time I went through these pivotal scenes in the game, the David, the bedroom scene with Ellie and Joel, like, leveling each other out, and all that stuff, I went and watched immediately after the show's interpretation of it. And while it's really good, there's something about this game that just does it mind-blowingly better. Like,
Yeah.
the delivery by Troy Baker and Ashley
Yep.
Johnson is just so much more raw. It's so much more realistic in many ways. It doesn't feel played up. And it just
Isn't that
hits
crazy?
so
The
much
game
harder.
feels more real than the show.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the show's great.
And I honestly think, like, it's one of those things where, like, this is a tangent, but it really pisses me off when people say, "Oh, the voice actors." It's like, these guys are actors, like, and they are walking around in pajamas, basically, and they are acting out a scene where someone has just cleaved a rapist's face up, and now she doesn't know what to do with herself, and her dad is basically consoling her. How do you act that? And they do it without any problem. And, like, it's the same with Sarah's death at the start. Fuck me, when I played that in the remake, it was like, holy shit.
Better. Yeah.
Chills, like, genuine, like, welling up again. Like, I'm getting chills right now. I don't even see that. Like, just thinking about this game is phenomenal, and it's a game that should be studied for the rest of time on how to do narrative in games. So just narratives in general, it's phenomenal. And it doesn't stay long. It doesn't stay around too long. It's not too short. It's a perfectly paced video game. I'm about 10 hours into it, I would say, maybe 9 hours, and I'm nearing the end of it. I probably only got 2 hours left of it, and then I'm onto the DLC, the Left Behind DLC.
It's one of the truest goats.
I can't. I cannot say anything to justify how good this game is. It just is. It simply is. And I mean, I guess all I'll end on is Joel did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I understand that. That'll be a topic for another time. We actually have talked about making our next Critical Frames Plus episode The Last of Us Part 1. And that might be a great thing to discuss there for sure. I think it'd be awesome.
Indeed.
Joe, my question for the week before we get out of here, we'll make this quick, is next year's 2025. Do you think any Xbox exclusive titles will come to PlayStation next year? And if you do think so, which ones?
Starfield.
You think Starfield will come to PS5 next year?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely possible. The expansion will be out by then. Updates, they can just package it all together.
Gears
I think
4 and
Hellblade.
5.
I think Hellblade 2.
Gears 4 and 5.
You think Gears 4 and 5 next year? Okay, I was thinking maybe like a Gears collection, which hasn't been announced yet.
Maybe, but like, if it coincides with the release, because Gears E-Day is 2025, right?
No. That's
that?
probably no. It has nothing. It has no year attached. It's probably 4 or 5 years out. Yeah.
Oh well, there we go. Maybe not.
So something Gears, Starfield.
Mhm.
Anything else you think's coming to PS5 next year?
I don't know, Brian. Brian, what do you think?
I mean, I think Hellblade 2 for sure.
Yeah, that's a given. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that's before a year.
Hellblade 2. Starfield, I do think's coming. I just don't know if it'll be next year because it depends. Is Shattered Space the last expansion for Starfield? Like, I'm guessing
there's
it's not.
only one, right? I've only
Well,
heard
yeah,
one.
but like one that they've announced. I mean,
I guess.
if Shattered Space was it, then I'd be like maybe next year. But if it's got more, then I'm thinking no.
Like, I'm
But
such a bad Xbox fan that I'm blanking on kind of like knowing what they have from a first party sense. What do they have? What do they release?
Well, stuff that's coming, they have a lot, but like what's already been out, I mean, it's Starfield, Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush, which already came over. You know, there's obviously Halos and Gears that could come over, Forzas,
Halo
old
Combat Evolved
Fable
remake.
games. Right? Maybe. Yeah. No,
What a
I
day
think
that would be.
I think Hellblade 2 and Starfield are the most safest bets for next year.
Yeah. I think they could probably put a Gears 4 or a Gears 5 on there. I don't know why. They that
could.
would
I
help
just think
with
that they
the
would.
funding.
I think they go the route. I think they go
Yeah.
the route of a collection. That's just where I'm at. But
they could put the Ultimate Edition. Is it the Ultimate Edition? The Gears 1? I think that could go on. Like, just start piecemealing it off Xbox. Like, at this rate, why
take
not?
your time and make millions of dollars over here.
At this point, like, you're already like giving up the goose when it comes to the exclusive wars. So just do it.
I don't know what it is. I read some interview, and trust me, there was nothing alluded to in the interview, but I read the interview, and there was something about Gears of War E-Day, this new Gears of War game they announced. The way
that looks really good, by the way.
It looks really good.
That's the first time I've been hyped for Gears since Gears 3.
Absolutely. The only reason we didn't touch on it is because it's not on PlayStation yet. But I will say, from reading this like excerpt interview about Gears of War E-Day, it sounded like I could almost take the words as like, when this eventually comes out, it's going to launch day and date with Xbox on PlayStation. Like, I feel like that's them establishing like a new like foundation for Gears, and I feel like it's going on PlayStation. So we'll see. Very interesting.
Yeah, dude. It'll be cool to see. Forza's not on PlayStation, right? No.
That might be tougher with Gran Turismo. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But then it's like come over to Xbox after you've bought your Forza. Maybe you'll play other games on Xbox. Like kind of an osmosis thing, a reverse thing. Like, look, we do racing games just as good, if not better, than Gran Turismo, depending on what you like. We have other stuff. Come on. I don't know. I'm just thinking of it from a PlayStation mentality. That's probably not what Microsoft would do at all, let's be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly interesting. We will see next year. I mean, we've already got several titles announced from Xbox or from Xbox Studios that are coming next year, but I think some of those older titles are going to start coming as well.
Yeah, one thing I will say on that, like last note on that Xbox thing, is it was a fire show. Like honestly, as a PlayStation first gamer, like you guys over there on the green are eating good, and this is stuff that I've been wanting to see for a while. This is stuff that obviously a lot of the titles were like already kind of announced in many ways, and they were like sort of release dates for them, you know, like Fable and stuff. But honestly, like this is the shit that Xbox need to be doing. They need to make me want their platform. Obviously, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with putting them on PC day and date. So like, I don't know why. Take that away. I'll be honest. Just take that away. Fuck it. But yeah, a great showcase, and hopefully Sony can match it coming up. If not, so be it.
I mean, it doesn't really matter if you think about it, because Xbox needed this showcase. You look at Sony this year. Like I said, they had Helldivers II, Rebirth, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, and then they had a State of Play, which showed off Concord and Astrobot and you know stuff like Silent Hill 2 that's coming to the PlayStation. They're having just a fine year. They're selling record consoles. There's probably going to be a pro console this year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a teaser for Ghost of Tsushima 2 by the end of the year. Sony's doing fine. They don't need this showcase, which I know that's easy to say as a PlayStation fan. It's like, oh, we don't need this.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been awesome to have the Xbox showcase quality for PlayStation, but they don't need it like Xbox does. So we're sitting in a good spot.
Dude, I had a friend that messaged me and says, "Who's winning right now, Xbox or PlayStation?" I'm like, "How do you want me to answer that? And how long do you have? Are you talking about like PR? Are you talking about like who's winning the console war? Are you talking about who has the highest prospects going forward?" Given the end of the generation,
I think everything you just said was PlayStation.
Well, yeah, I was thinking. Are you talking about showcases as of recent Xbox? But are you talking about like accessibility? Are you talking about like player count? Like, what are you talking about?
Backwards compatibility, Xbox.
How long have you got for me to type or do a voice message? And it's like, so yeah, wow.
A lot to say there. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to shout out the places you can reach us, and then Joe is going to shout out our patrons.
Indeed.
And we will get out of here. But guys, if you want to support us monetarily for just $5 with the all access tier, go on over to patreon.com/critical frames. Just one tier. Everyone's there together, the same tier. You
$5.
Get special Discord access. You get access to our Critical Frames Plus episodes that go up once a month. We've already got a Final Fantasy VII Remake one up there.
Mm.
You get your questions asked on the show every week if you want. You get shouted out at the end. It's awesome. It's real simple. We really appreciate the you guys going there. If you do, and even if you don't, we just appreciate you listening. If you want to write in or send a voicemail to Critical Frames, you can send that to criticalframes@gmail.com. Our Discord is open to everyone. Come join us. Come chat with us. We'd love to talk to you. Am I forgetting anything else? Oh, follow us on Twitter at Critical Frames. Our boy Wesley is over there doing a great job keeping that up and having lots of interesting conversations. So we appreciate you guys. And speaking of appreciating you guys, Joe, read off our patrons.
Yeah, well, one thing I will say is before I start reading the list, Music Tree, my buddy Charlie, recently, what a madman he is.
Good dude.
Really good dude. He like upped his pledge to $20 per month. Obviously, we don't have one. We don't have one.
We don't have a tier beyond 5. So.
Yeah, so like all love to that guy. Like that guy is a legend. Like honestly, one of the best people I've ever met.
Charlie, Joe told me that he was taking the extra 15 for himself. So get on him.
It's the friend tax, dude.
Yeah, the friend tax.
We've got a stronger bond.
Friend.
Stay away, Brian. Stay away.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me read them out here. 1 second. Let me just get them up in name order. Here we go. So we have Darren.jpg, Diente de Hombre, Music Tree, Mustard Chief, Trickster, and Westy Types. Thank you so much, guys. And also, what I will say is this stuff will no longer be read out like on the pod in future. I'll record this sort of prematurely, sort of in post-production, and have it all nicely laid out for you guys, and also credit you video-wise in the outro. So there we go.
I'm really looking forward to that, Joe. Guys, thank you so much for supporting us over on Patreon, and thank you to everyone else for listening to this episode of Critical Frames. We love you guys. We hope you enjoyed what we had to talk about here today, and we will see you next week. Peace, y'all.
Peace.